Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Pekin Freeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
It's hard to believe, but it was just 9 weeks ago that we kicked off season number 4 of the Ray Esports Racing League presented by RaceVoice, Alliance Autosport, and Spec Racer Sports here on Apex Racing TV. And in all the weeks that followed, we've seen glory, we've seen defeat, we've gotten a few surprises, and we might just have witnessed our share of some twisted virtual sheet metal. And now that our 3 classes, the RE2 Formula cars, the Spec Racer Fords, and the Spec Miatas, or Mazda MX-5s, now that they've all completed 6 rounds, we've crowned 3 season champions, or more specifically, we've crowned 1 person 3 times over. And we'll meet this standout driver and the runners-up in just a few moments. But first, let's talk about tonight. We've got an expanded broadcast as our 3 classes will each partake in a 25-minute winner-take-all dash to the checkered flag in the hopes of being named the Runoffs champ for season number 4. And we've decided to put it all on the line at the track that hosted the Sports Car Club of America's Runoffs in 2018 that made road course racing a thing in NASCAR, and the track that has its own flock of sheep maintaining the grounds. Of course, I'm talking about Sonoma Raceway. I'm Greg Ginsberg, and by my side in the commentary booth for this momentous occasion is Brian Donati. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening there, Greg.
And of course, we've got Dennis Branch from Apex Racing TV in the virtual production trailer. He's bringing us all the best views of this beautiful venue from California wine country. So Brian, with almost 160 feet of elevation change from its lowest point to its highest, and the combination of short straights and really a lack of heavy braking zones that really puts passing at a premium here at Sonoma, I'm sure you're going to agree that this venue that has always been known to the locals as Sears Point is really very well suited to a championship level event.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg. With only 2 really hard braking points on this 12-turn track, it is going to be wide open. We're going to see passing. We're going to see a lot of drafting in all 3 of our classes. So you've got to get it done. You've got to get it done quick, because you definitely don't want to have to worry about getting down into these 2 heavy braking zones that we have to make that pass. And that pass could be for the win.
All right, and we're watching right now, or we were just watching on track, Nolan Allaire, driver of the number 1 RE2 Formula car. And to give you the order for tonight's races, we're going to have the RE2 Formula cars up first. Then we're going to have our Spec Racer Fords, and then we're going to round out the evening with the Mazda MX-5s, with the Spec Miatas. And as we're now just about halfway through with qualifying, the 15-minute qualifying session for our RE2s, let's take a little bit of time here to recognize our Season 4 champion, and that was Caleb Patry, driver of the number 198 All Sports Racing Machine. Out of 6 races this season for the RE2s, he came away with 4 wins, took home 135 points in the championship there to beat the next closest competitor, John Wilson, to the championship by 48 points. Now, the only other driver in RE2 to take a win this season was Morgan Burkhardt. He finished behind his teammate Jamison Huffman in 4th. Huffman finished 55 points back from Patry. Burkhardt finished 1 point back from there with 56 points back. And then finishing in 5th, as you can see there up on the screen, Mark Santana, not all that far back with 75 points. He was only 4 points off of Burkhardt. And so, as I mentioned in the open, Caleb Patry, he won all 3 championships this season, and hopefully we'll get a chance to speak to him. But one championship that he did not win, Brian, this season, as part of season number 4, we are giving out the Excellent Driver Award. It's an award given out in each of our 3 different classes by the Esports Driver Club, who hosts the Spec 5 World Challenge on Thursday nights. And this is an award given to the driver that amasses the fewest number, what are called incident points in iRacing. That could be going off track, that could be having contact with a wall, that could be having contact with a driver or another driver's car. And the driver who amasses the fewest number of those incident points out of 5 of the 6 races, they actually get to drop 1 race, comes home with the championship, and we are giving away these beautiful, beautiful trophies. And taking the win for the award in RE2, John Wilson. I guess it'll have to be a consolation for him since he finished 2nd in the RE2 championship this season. But I should note that it was actually a tie for the cleanest racer award there, the Excellent Driver Award, between John Wilson and Mark Santana. And the award was given to Wilson simply because he finished higher in the championship than Santana did. But for Santana, as you saw there, he took the award for Spec Racer Ford, for him to amass the fewest number of incident points in 2 different classes. And Brian and I thought we were in the running for this, but apparently not.
Well, evidently Mark Santana just didn't fall down off the desk like we had to at one point. So.
That's right. Matter of fact, we all heard that noise around the internet a couple of weeks ago, as I think I fell out of my chair. But we've got just a couple minutes left here in qualifying, about 4 minutes remaining. Your provisional pole sitter at the moment is Morgan Burkhardt, who was our champion, not in RE2, but in MX-5s and Spec Racer Fords and Formula V last season. So he's looking to get back to the top of the leaderboard here, and again had 2 wins in the RE2, so certainly a chassis that knows well. But we've got Caleb Patry currently running 2nd, and then we saw him on screen before, and I mentioned him a moment earlier, Nolan Allaire, driver of the number 1 machine. There's Nolan with that Martini livery, very beautiful looking car, and John Williams special there on the side of the car as well. Nolan, this past year at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, finished 3rd in the Formula Continental Championship at the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. The Formula Continental's 1600cc motors, and very, we keep saying that that these RE2 machines are very close to the FE2 cars that are run in Spec race, in the Sports Car Club of America, but frankly, they are much, much closer to the Pro 1600 machines, Formula Continental machines that Allaire drove to that bronze medal this year. So we'll have to see how he does. He's currently third in qualifying right now. Tyler Campbell, who is an early season favorite to win the championship, had a bit of strife this season, from lost internet connections to untimely offs. He is currently sitting fourth in qualifying. There's Tyler from All Sports Racing in that black and purple machine, and he is at the moment about 0.6 off of. Not 0.6. He is only a couple tenths here, about 0.2 off of let's make that 0.3 off of Morgan Burkhardt's provisional pole time here. I'll get that right eventually, but you can see here definitely a very good pace and things, Brian. If you look at the top of the timing tower there on your left, some very, very tight running here in the top four, and frankly, Jamison Huffman in that, or actually that's Justin Huffman in the 223 machine. That's Jamison's father, who drives a car very much like this in the real world. He's currently sitting in fifth. A little bit off that pace, though.
Yeah, you know what, Greg? Our top two provisional right now, 1 and 2, have the exact same time of a 1:28.58, give or take a hundredth or a thousandth of second here and there between Morgan Burkhardt and Caleb Patrick. You talked about Justin Huffman sitting right there in fifth. One of the names that I'm not seeing that hasn't completed a lap here in qualifying is his son Jamison. So Justin may have reached over and pulled the plug on his sim rig to not allow him to make him start from the back of the field to see what he could actually do. So we have heard that in the past.
No, that is, yeah. I mean, we've heard about them reaching over and slapping one another because their rigs are very close, in very close proximity. But yeah, I guess that would be the ultimate way to move up through the order in a championship, is to just shut the sun down. But we were taking a look at that difference in lap times, Brian, with both Burkhardt and Patrick showing a 128.58. And turns out, if we take a look there, we've got the raw times on the timing tower right now. It's actually a 128.576 for Burkhardt. It is 7/1000ths of a second at the moment, separating Burkhardt and Patry. Now, both of those drivers, they are no longer on the track with the checkered flag in the air. So it looks like Burkhardt, he's going to be able to hold on for provisional pole. As we were following there, Jamison Huffman, Justin Huffman, he's going to be coming across. He's finishing up that final lap. We'll have to see how he does. As we see there is Wayne Buttermore, driver of the number 73 machine. He crosses the stripe, completes his final flying lap. He's going to start 14th in that BFI Consulting machine. We're on board right now with Mark Santana in the number 222 machine as he makes his way down through the S's. He's going to come back now through turn 10, back behind the drag tower there as he sets up for the hairpin here down at the very end of the track, turn 11. And you can see there he hugs that curb very, very tightly. He's got one more corner, and he will complete his last flying lap. At the moment, we'll see if he can beat the 131.28, which was his previous best, and move up in the order. And he does. He turns in a 130.79. That's going to get him past Charles Vaccaro, put him up to 11th.
But Greg, right as you said that, the last flying lap, Tyler Campbell in that number 37 machine comes out with a 128.49 on the last lap. That is going to be your pole sitter.
Wow, look at that. The time that he puts in, and only 82 thousandths of a second up on Morgan Burkhardt, but it's going to be enough for him to start from the inside of row number 1 as those drivers come through that first turn and make that huge run up the hill towards turn number 2. And you can see there as we take that shot, take a look down from turn 1, down the hill. Actually, we were looking at it just a second ago. Now it's a little bit further on, but this track here, it's got such gorgeous, gorgeous views as it's nestled in the mountains. And, we talk about tracks that are built into the land. Well, obviously here at Sonoma, Sears Point, this is one of those tracks. And, it goes up, it goes down, it goes off camber, it goes on camber. You have these tight hairpins. It's so challenging, Brian. But tell you what, why don't we run down the starting grid here, and we'll let the drivers speak for themselves and how difficult it is. I'll take the first grid here with Tyler Campbell from All Sports Racing. He is your pole sitter for race number 1 tonight. Fast time 1:28.493, 82 thousandths off that time. His teammate Morgan Burkhardt will be driving the number 40 machine. Starting on row number 2, Caleb Patry, the number 198 machine. He is your champion in season number 4 in this class. We'll have to see how he does. And as I mentioned, Nolan Allaire, a podium finisher at the National Championship Runoffs this year at Indianapolis. He starts on the outside of row number 2. Justin Huffman will start 5th with John Wilson starting right next to him. Wilson finishing 2nd in the championship this year. Deacon Greenfield will start 7th with Tom Pendergrass starting next to him on the outside of row number 4. Andrew Rosencroft will start 10th with Jordy Fike from Team Esport Racer, the 09 machine, starting 10th. Then we've got Mark Santana in the 222 entry. He'll start 11th with Charles Vaccaro starting next to him in 12th. Then we've got Joaquin Effinger in the number 700 machine. He starts 13th with Wayne Buttermore right next to him. You could not have Joaquin Effinger without Wayne Buttermore right beside. It's just the way it works here. Greg Brockway, he's going to start 15th. Travis Trussell will start 16th. And Jamison Huffman, who did not set a time in qualifying, will start shotgun on the field in 16th. So, that is your starting grid as the drivers now start their pace lap. You can see them making their way up that very steep run to turn number 2. And I can tell you, I ran a 5K at Sonoma a couple of years ago back in 2018. Going up that hill is got to be the most strenuous thing that you can imagine for somebody who's been calling races all day long. But real quick, Brian, as this pace lap is underway, let's talk about our sponsor for race number 1 tonight. And they've been a sponsor of the Ray Esports Racing League since the very beginning. It's Alliance Autosport, based in Columbus, Ohio, and they found success at both the club and professional levels, garnering multiple championships, including 8 SCCA National Championships, 3 SCCA Pro Racing Championships, and a USF 2000 National Class Championship. Alliance Autosports team members are dedicated, hardworking, and know what it takes to win. Alliance's SCCA Enterprises Great Lakes Division customer service rep for FE2 for Spec Racer Ford, and their services include arrive and drive packages for Spec Racer 4 Gen 3, for FE2, and if you want to go and you want to run those tin tops in Trans Am, for Trans Am 2 as well. They offer car prep, trackside support, transportation, storage, part sales, data analysis, hospitality, as well as driver coaching and development. To join Alliance Autosport on the winning track, check them out at allianceautosport.com. All right, Brian, so we've got the drivers now making their way down through the S's. It looks like they've just crested over turn 8A over there. And, this is a section of the track that is just so tight and so difficult to pass on.
Yes, you're right, Greg. It is very difficult because you've got to get in there. But with these cars being a little bit smaller, I think you're going to see some passing here as our racers get ready to come down through turns 11 right now and get ready to get that all-important green flag. But I think when you get into the S's with these type of cars, and when we see later on our Spec Racer Fords, you're going to see some passing there.
All right, so as you saw, the pace car on the pit lane, very long pit lane here with multiple bends and turns, as our pole sitter Tyler Campbell leads the field through the final corner, through turn 12, green flag early in the air and making his way to the front of the field before they get to turn 1 and start the run up the hill is Morgan Burkhardt getting around Tyler Campbell. Then we've got Caleb Patry. He's going to try and go around Campbell on driver's left. Can't get it done. That's going to open up the room for Nolan Allaire, who is now side by side with Patry as they come through 3, make the run up to 4, back behind Allaire. We've got Tom Pendergrass. We've got Justin Huffman, who lost a position. Then we've got John Wilson and Jordy Fike. Tom Pendergrass moved all the way from 8th up to 5th. He had a great start. As we see now the field making their way down through the carousel, down through turn number 6 here. They're going to make a short run back onto the drag strip. They're going to hook left, and then they've got a big, wide, sweeping right-hand turn to get into those S's as Morgan Burkhardt, driver of the number 40 machine. He's got the point right now. Oh, and a big brake lock up there. Was that Jordy Fike, I think, that got on the brakes? He's going to lose a couple of positions, Brian, and that's going to bottle things up right around 9th and 10th position.
Yeah, I tell you what, Greg, I was just getting ready to say that these guys look like they are started to just stick single file here with this additional 5 minutes in this race, but it didn't look like it as Jordy Fike locked up them brakes going into that turn 7, getting ready to come up through those S's into turn 8, and that stacked up that field. As our early leaders start to break away there, we look over to the side there of the number 35. Looks like that may even been the 36 of Deacon Greenfield.
Deacon Greenfield, yeah, I think
maybe a little bit slower. Yeah, a little bit slower through there. So again, probably still trying to get those tires and those brakes underneath him.
Yeah, and he might have had a slowdown penalty or something along those lines. Looked like he was really off the pace. Also, we noticed there, as we were talking about Jordy Fike, that Andrew Wozencroft took him like 5 turns to get it done, but he finally got around Jordy Fike as they went down into the hairpin here. As we jump back to this battle for the lead now, as the drivers come down through turns 4 and 5, it's still Morgan Burkhardt. We saw Tyler Campbell run a little bit wide a couple turns ago on the run up to 3rd, and we can see here he takes a very wide set coming through the carousel. He's got Caleb Patry, our season 4 champion, right behind, and things are starting to stretch out just a little bit now. Looks like Nolan Allaire in that black number 1 machine. He's fallen off the pace of our top 3 maybe just a little bit. But Tom Pendergrass, who had that great start, he is now sitting about a 2.5 seconds back of Allaire in 5th.
Yeah, Allaire just about a second behind our leader there, Morgan Burkhardt, as we go on board here with Tyler Campbell. And you're right, Greg. No, Tyler Campbell starting to open up a little bit on these turns, trying to take as he goes a little bit far and gets drivers left off there coming out of turn 10 into turn 11. That's going to be a key critical part. If you want to set up turn 11, you're going to have to get through turn 10 pretty clean, and Tyler Campbell did not on that lap.
Yeah, and we've seen this as Campbell has fought for leads in some of these races. Again, I kind of alluded to it. He had some unfortunate offs. He had an issue coming out of Oak Tree at VIR just last week, and he's had at a couple of other tracks some issues as well. So we'll see if he can keep the tires underneath him. Now I know that Tyler does the setups for most of the All Sport Racing team, so there might be some small tweaks that Burkhardt or maybe Caleb Patry have done to their machines, but this is this car and this chassis and the setup here is kind of the domain of Tyler Campbell as he continues to maybe lose a little bit of ground to Burkhardt through that carousel. Again, he takes a much wider set, doesn't get down to the apex, and he may be having a little bit of an issue with understeer, although right there, Brian, no understeer coming through 7.
No, you're right, Greg. He got through that corner there really clean, got into that apex. I think it was Morgan Burkhardt that may have had a little bit of a challenge, not able to get back on the gas as quickly as he wanted to, which allowed Tyler Campbell to move up right onto that back gearbox coming out of 7 up into the S's. But as we head down into turn 11, again, we get into that. That's one of the hard braking zones I was talking about. And there is only 2 of them on this racetrack in turn 11 and really turn 7 there, coming down through there right before you get to the S's. And it seems like that's where Tyler Campbell is able to force a little bit of the issue with Morgan Burkhardt.
Although that time by going through the hairpin, he pushed a little wide for a moment. It looked like Patry was going to try and sneak underneath him. I think at the moment, and Campbell, I don't know if there was contact there, but Campbell coming out of turn 2, there's a little bit of a rise there, and you can see there he went off, lost the rear end of the car, went off into the dirt and grass driver's right, and he's going to try and continue now. Let's take a look at the replay, Brian.
Yeah, they start to come up the hill. It doesn't look like there's really any contact there at that point. As they come through there, it just looks like he got a little bit off on driver's left. That left rear tire got into the dirt, which is another product here of Sonoma. We talked about that when we were at Laguna Seca a couple weeks ago, where you could get that tire off just ever so slightly, and that dust will pick up, and that will cause you to slip. So definitely no contact there between Tyler Campbell and Caleb Patrick.
Yeah, so a lot of loose sand and dirt there, not a lot of grip. And I don't know if I just brought out the announcer's curse talking about Campbell's issues, the lap before, but unfortunately he had the issue there as we watch right now. Andrew Wozencroft, who is back to 9th position, and he's got a battle going on with Charles Vaccaro. Vaccaro started back in 12th, is now up into 8th position, and once again, this is where Wozencroft looks very strong, coming out of 9, going into the hairpin here, and he gets around the number 700 machine, probably the 221 machine, and Deacon Greenfield gets around as well. The one thing these drivers have to look at, though, Brian, this might be, maybe pointing out something that might come up later, is maybe the drivers might get a little tired, at least some point tonight, maybe not in this race, but one of the other 2 races, is those barrels that are located down at the hairpin. You might as well be running into a concrete post if you hit one of those things.
Yeah, not only is it not going to be real good for the race car, it's not going to probably feel real good for you either.
No, the force feedback on some of these steering wheels might be awfully stiff, hard, I don't know, but difficult, and it might just hurt. So let's jump back over to the lead now, where we've got Burkhardt and Patry. Nolan Allaire, who had been running 4th, he is now elevated to 3rd with Tyler Campbell going around, and Campbell, when he rejoined in 7th position. So huge drop there for our pole sitter. And Allaire, he's got about a little bit over 1.2 seconds that he's got to make up on the lead pack. There is looks like Charles Vaccaro, who we were talking about just a few moments ago, who had found his way up into 8th. He goes off track coming out of turn number 7, and he's going to drop a number of positions now.
Yeah, he's dropped all the way back to 13th, and last time by, he struggled getting out of that turn 7 and up to turn 8 into the S's as well. So I think that just bit him ever so slightly as he tried to get through there clean this last time around, and ended up not being able to and just spinning the car.
All right, we just saw Wozencroft, who really does very well in this car, coming through turn 7 and going through the S's, but he gets on the brakes awfully late going into that hairpin, and he seems to push wide, and Deacon Greenfield that time took advantage of it, moved Greenfield now up into 8th. That is a net -1. He started 7th this evening, so he's trying to make up a couple spots here, get back at least where he started, as he leads Wozencroft and Jordy Fike, who recovered from that lap 1 mishap over turn 7. He leads them down through the carousels. But right now, Brian, it's starting to look like a 2-horse or a 2-car race.
Yeah, between Morgan Burkhardt and Caleb Patrick. Again, Caleb Patrick winning the championship, kind of been the workhorse here all season, especially in these RE2s. But I tell you what, I'm not going to go too far out here with Nolan Allaire again. Still sitting about 1.5 seconds back. But as our 2 leaders, Morgan Burkhardt and Caleb Patrick, start to battle each other as this race starts to evolve and go on even further, look for Nolan Allaire, who's probably just sitting back ever so slightly, taking care of that equipment. Again, we're going 5 minutes longer than we normally do in our regular races during the season, and we have seen where tires and brakes have really gone down to almost nothing. And as you can see right there, Morgan Burkhardt getting a little sideways there coming out of turn 2, getting ready to head up to turn 3 and turn 4 there. Again, it's at getting off into that gravel, getting off into that dirt, and it will upset your car here pretty quickly.
Yeah, as Patry does there as well. And I'm wondering, Larry, if Nolan Allaire has watched video of Morgan's and Caleb's race from Virginia International Raceway, where those 2 drivers got together going through the uphill S's, and both ended up as if the Dead Sea was parting, as if it was as if it was the 10 Commandments, and Moses making his way through the Dead Sea. There is both those drivers just went off, one to left, one to right. But at this point, we don't see any side-by-side racing with them. And Allaire, that last time by, he was a little bit off the pace, but he's not that far off. He was about 0.2 off of what both Burkhardt and Patry are running. Burkhardt just ran the last lap, and we'll see if he resets it this time around. He had just run the fastest lap of the race at a 129.14, and Patry was 4/100ths of a second off of that time, so not very far. As it looks like Deacon Greenfield now has lost the positions that he had made earlier on in this race. He now drops to 11th as he went off going through the S's. Let's take a look at the replay here, Brian.
Yeah, it comes up through the S's there. Seems to be okay, through that section there. Comes up through, it looks like that's going to be turn 9. Turn 9 is going to jump up and bite him right there. Starting to make that left-hand turn there. Again, product of just overdriving the car during that.
Yeah,
during that
exactly.
time.
I was going to say, it looked like the apex of the curbing there jumped up and bit him. You could see as the car rolled over that. And when we talked to Caleb Patry, or pardon me, we talked to Tyler Campbell about this, I think after the outing at Summit Point Raceway, because if you remember, he had an issue where he had gone off coming out of turn 8 at Summit, and that is curbing that is essentially just painted pavement, and there's not much of a rise, or not one that you notice in a touring car, but in the Formula car, it was enough to lift the chassis up and send it around and send him spinning off track. So certainly, these cars that are right on the pavement and have very, very stiff suspensions, you have to be very wary of what these curbs can do for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want to try to get the maximize as you can getting into the center of these apexes, especially here, but they can jump up and bite you just as pretty much in every track we've gone to this year with these, with these cars.
All right, and so Morgan Burkhardt now once again turns fast lap of the race, that time a 128.99. So he is getting faster as he finally gets under that 129 marker, and he had opened things up on Patry at one point to a little bit over 1.2 seconds, but Patry was able to close it back up. You can see there on the timing tower, about 6/500ths to 7/10ths behind, but Allaire continues to not be able to keep the pace of our top 2 drivers. He is now just about 2.5 seconds off the lead pack.
Yeah, we come down here, Greg, I tell you what, and it could be that Caleb Patry may be just waiting a little bit to let Morgan probably use up some of his equipment. We've seen this all year long where, Morgan and or Caleb and or in some cases Jamison Huffman will go out and get a blistering pace halfway through this race, and then the tires and everything will start to fall off. As we're sitting here looking at John Wilson in the number 82 machine, and I believe that is Tyler Campbell battling there right there with him in the 37 machine. That's a battle for 6th and 7th as they come up through the S's right now. It looks like John Wilson may have gotten a little wide to take that angle going into turn 7, but was able to hold off Tyler Campbell. As we get to the braking zone 11, Tyler going to try to outbrake John Wilson as they go in through turn 11, Greg.
And Wilson was going to try and cut underneath them, but just going down to the apex there, Campbell was able to hold him off fairly well there, and so now Tyler Campbell takes over 6th position. Next in line for him would be Justin Huffman. Huffman started 5th. That is where he still stands, and Huffman is just about 1 second up the road, I believe, there from Tyler Campbell. Actually, a little bit more than a second, about a second or so. So we'll see if Campbell can get that pace. You see there the red, white, and blue number 223 of Justin Huffman up ahead.
Yeah, Tyler Campbell starting to reel him in just a little bit. Last time by, he was about a 10th faster. So we'll see as we go back to our leaders here. And just as I said, Caleb Patry, he just now went the fastest lap last time by with a 128.87. So he bettered that 128.99 of Morgan Burkhardt. So those two have started to really pull away now from Nolan Allaire. So almost 2.5 seconds over our 3rd place driver.
Yeah, and as the fuel burns off in these cars and they get lighter, certainly going to pick up the pace a little bit. But and now it's starting to look, and you can see here, as Patry almost goes right underneath the rain light on the back of Morgan Burkhardt's RE2 machine. Patry, he's opening up corners, I think, a little bit more than Burkhardt is, and I would. Then, do they have contact there? No contact, but now Patry's going to try and come up drivers right, or probably drivers left, and then maybe try to sneak under Burkhardt as they go up towards turn number 3. and not able to do it. But we can see that Burkhardt maybe now starting to get a little defensive, maybe now starting to throw the car around just a little bit. We saw there as he came through 3 and 3A, Brian, as we have that quick little switchback as they crest up towards the top of the hill and then drop back down to turn 4, where the rear end was just kind of kicked from one side to the other. And, you just see a little more smoothness maybe from Patry at the moment.
Yeah, this is a product of Patry's just a little bit faster than Burkhardt. Burkhardt, again, teammate here, trying to defend and trying to hold off as we go longer in this race. So we drop back here just a little bit more to the Justin Huffman, and I believe that may be
I think that's Pendergrass.
That may be Pendergrass right there behind Huffman. Yeah, and that would be a product for 4th place right there, Greg.
Yeah, and remember, Pendergrass had that great start. He started in 8th, worked his way originally up to 5th, and then with Tyler Campbell falling off the course, now finds himself in 4th position. I believe he is at the moment the hard charger of the race, but we can see here as Huffman starting to perhaps in some portions of this course reel him in a little bit, but that time by the 23 machine very strong through the S's and opens up a bit of an advantage going down in the final corner as we watch now the two teammates, the battle for the lead. Burkhardt in the number 40. Oh, and we lost Caleb Patry as he goes off on the run up to turn number 2. He goes into the grass. Looks like the rear end just walked around on him. That's going to move Nolan Allaire now up into 2nd position. We saw that black number 1 just scoot on by. Brian, let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, as they start to come down here through the start-finish line here, they start to climb up the hill, up going into turns 1 here. A little bit, tried to force the issue there. Yeah, just tried to get back in line, just couldn't do it. The tires went away. It was a great save not to get into those tire berries there. Lost 1 position to Nolan Allaire, but again, Greg, still plenty of time here for Caleb Patry to get these tires back up underneath him and try to run down Nolan Allaire here.
All right, so that now takes a little bit of the pressure off of our leader, Morgan Burkhardt, who now has over 2.5 seconds on Nolan Allaire. We've got now just about 7.5 minutes remaining here in our RE2 race. First race of the evening from Sonoma Raceway for Seasons 4 Runoffs on the Ray Esports Racing League. And let's jump back to that battle between Pendergrass and Huffman. And you can see now Campbell as Pendergrass and Huffman are fighting it out. Tyler Campbell is making up ground, and he's making it up quickly.
Yeah, last time by, Thomas Pendergrass and Justin Huffman were in the 130s. Tyler Campbell ran a 129. So that is now going to be a 3-car battle here for 4th place within the next, well, I wouldn't even say the next 30 seconds. He's there. Tyler Campbell's there in the rear view mirror there of Justin Huffman in that 223 machine as they cross the start-finish line. Thomas Pendergrass by about 4 or 5 car lengths over Justin Huffman, and then really about a car length back is Tyler Campbell, who seems to be a little bit faster here in these cars. I think we had one go off there. That may have been Wayne Buttermore.
Yeah, that was Buttermore. I think Buttermore is running a lap down, and that pack was coming up on him. And Buttermore had just recovered the car, I think, coming out of the hairpin here. But here we go. Let's take a look as they come now up through turn 4. They're going to drop down into the carousel now. Remember, early on, Campbell was having some issues keeping that car tight and tidy coming through the carousel, but looks very good there. And we'll see if he gets a run where he has been very, very strong. Brian is right here, under braking, going into 7 at this double apex right-hander. And looks like still he's kind of biding his time there.
Yeah, a little trouble getting through there, not able to get back on the throttle as much as I think as he wanted to. I bet you if we did an interview with him later on, he would say that exact same thing. Just not able to get on the throttle quick enough to even run these two with Thomas Pendergrass and Justin Huffman. But again, still plenty enough time here for Tyler Campbell. He can work his way back up into 4th place here. Certain parts of the racetrack, he is definitely much faster than they are.
There you go, and he takes a very late entry down into the hairpin. And looked for a moment there. He had to do a little adjustment, keep away from those stone tires here as they come across the stripe. They complete their 13th lap. They start their 14th lap and make the run up to turn number 2. And, I don't want to say that Pendergrass hasn't put a wheel wrong but he has looked very, very strong, very opportunistic at the start of the race here. But again, very good race. He had a great start at Summit Point. I guess it was now 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately, I think got tied up with a couple of other drivers going down into turn 5 after a couple laps in. But he seems to have a pretty good handle on this chassis.
Yeah, he's starting to figure this out, and you're right, Greg. He is running this very, very smooth, and what's that doing is that's actually having Justin Huffman have to put a lot of pressure to try to keep up with it. I think the smoothness that Pendergrass is having, especially right in here, he seems to pull away from not only Huffman, but Tyler Campbell lap after lap.
Yeah, now that time he didn't run away. He actually ran a little bit wide, driver's left. You saw as he actually popped over the curb from the outside of the curbing on driver's left back onto the track surface, that I think both the 223 and the 37 machines got a good jump. But right now, Campbell, as he comes hard under braking, jumps down to the inside. He's going to get around Justin Huffman, gets around the 223 machine. So move Tyler Campbell now up into 5th, and we'll see if Campbell is maybe a little bit more aggressive with Tom Pendergrass than Justin Huffman was. You know, you saw Huffman seemed, I think, pretty content there, but of course he also had to concern himself with the number 37 behind. He couldn't devote all his attention to Pendergrass. Now it's Campbell's turn.
Yeah, I had to just back out a little bit quicker, I think, than he wanted to. But you're right, Greg. I think Tyler Campbell will get past Thomas Pendergrass here, and I would look to see probably going to be in the exact same spot the last time that he just made a pass on Justin Huffman.
All right, as they make the run out of 5, head down into the carousel, and again, we typically see Campbell apex that a little early, push a little wide as he does there, but he carries a ton of speed. And look at this, he's almost up alongside Pendergrass as they go under braking into 7. From the outside, he's going to take a much wider set to try to come underneath Pendergrass, but cannot get the car down to the apex. And I think he was a little concerned there that perhaps Huffman was going to try to take the apex away from him there at 7A. And so, just stuck the car to the outside, but didn't lose a lot of ground to Pendergrass.
It looks like Pendergrass, though, Greg, may have gotten crossed up, not seeing those cones there, thinking that he had to go straight there rather than make that little left, as here we go now into turn 11, and it looks like that Tyler Campbell's going to take a wide turn there, not able to do it. Pendergrass had the preferred line going through there and was able to hit the center of that corner and get off. But as I was saying, it looked like Thomas Pendergrass got a little crossed up going into that turn 7 right before the S's. Yeah. And that allowed Tyler Campbell to come all the way up to the inside there, but then had to back out of it and take that wide turn, where he dropped a little bit of time from that.
Yeah, and you can see the effect of the draft as they come out of the S's and they make that run behind the drag tower through turn 10, one of the fastest, probably the fastest turn on the course here. And Pendergrass made a very, very late decision to move to the inside and get things done. But now we see as Tyler Campbell is going to try and come around the outside and maybe then switch underneath as they make the run out of the carousel. And here we go as they come down to 7. Last time by, Campbell was all the way alongside, under braking going into 7, and now he should have the opportunity to kind of just drop down to the apex, much like he did with Burkhardt early on in the race. And there you go again, Brian. You saw that little wiggle from Pendergrass coming through 7A.
Yeah, that's getting on the gas just a little bit too hard back in as these tires are starting to really wear out here with about just under a minute. And here we come through the S's. We talked about this in the opening, Greg. These cars, you're going to be able to make some passes, and there's a little bit of contact there between Campbell and Pendergrass. We'll have to take a look at that replay, but it looks like they may have just taken the air off at the beginning, and then that caused them both to run into each other.
Yeah, and you can see there that is game over for Tyler Campbell as he had one tire completely dislodged. Let's take a look at the replay here as they come down through the S's. And Campbell moves over driver's right, and then Pendergrass, as they get set up, they're going to have the left-hander at turn 10. And I don't know if Pendergrass just lost the car, perhaps it was net code there, but the rear end of Pendergrass's number 23 goes around, comes right across the front of Campbell. There was nowhere for Campbell to go, and it is game over for both of those drivers. Now that is going to move Justin Huffman to 4th. So we've got Burkhardt, Allaire, Caleb Patry. Your top 3 is looks like this 062 of
Greg Brockway.
Greg Brockway gives way for our leaders. But look at this. Allaire has really closed things down on Morgan Burkhardt here. But again, we've hit that 25-minute mark. The white flag is in the air. We've only got just a few corners remaining here as our drivers now make their way back behind that drag tower. It's the hairpin. It's then one more turn. It's turn 12. And we'll see here if Morgan Burkhardt can come away with our first Runoffs championship of the evening. He comes around turn 12, and Morgan Burkhardt, driver of the number 40 All Sports Racing RE2, is going to take the win. Nolan Allaire comes home in second in the number 1 machine. Then we've got Caleb Patry. He's going to take the last step on the podium. He ends up with the bronze. Justin Huffman, there he is, coming around the final 2 corners here. The number 223 machine, Justin Huffman, he's going to come home in 4th. And look at this, Tom Pendergrass had such an advantage on the rest of the field that when he and Caleb Patry got together, he was able to rejoin in 5th position. That is how he is going to cross the stripe. Pendergrass will finish in 5th. Andrew Wozencroft, great run for him. He finishes in 6th in the number 80 machine. Jordy Fike recovers from that early bobble on lap 1. He's gonna come home in 7th, and somebody went for a flying ride over there. Then we got Greenfield, Mark Santana, John Wilson rounding out the top 10 in race number 1. All right, so Brian, like clockwork, we've got our top 2 finishers sitting in the green room waiting for us. Why don't we actually, not our top 2, we've got 1st and 3rd right now. Let's tell you what, why don't we wait a couple seconds? We'll see if Nolan Allaire comes in to join us, but I have a feeling we're probably going to have the 2 All Sport Racer teammates. But what do you think of that finish there, Brian?
I tell you what, it was such a fantastic finish there that it's going to be interesting to talk about. Talk real quick to Morgan Burkhardt. I know we're going to be running up on time, so let's just go ahead and grab Morgan here real quick. Right. Let's get his take on this and then talk about him and Caleb Patry.
All right, sounds good. Let's bring in Morgan Burkhardt, our winner, our Season 4 Runoffs champion in RE2.
Morgan Burkhardt, congratulations on this win here at Sonoma. I got to tell you what, buddy, that was one of the smoothest drivings I think you've run all season long. You did have some challenges along the way early on with your teammate there, Caleb Patry, but talk about that race and talk about kind of early on there or in the middle of the race, you and him kind of racing there 1-2.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's just pretty much strat from the beginning was get out in front. Don't want to be in any of the dirty air, so get out and lead. I don't really have to really pound in the laps when I'm out front because nobody else can really get that close. But Caleb obviously proved that wrong a bit, and it was just try and do everything I could to keep him back there.
Well, I tell you what, again, congratulations on winning here at Sonoma in the Runoffs, this winner-take-all format that we've got. Who do you want to thank real quick, not only for tonight, but for the season?
Well, I definitely first and foremost like to thank Steve Ray, Greg Kubler, everybody at Ray Esports for putting on this league. You guys, Apex Racing TV, you and Greg and Dennis, can't forget Dennis, for putting on such a great show. So thank you to that.
Well, I will tell you, for Greg and for Dennis, we appreciate that very much. What a fantastic season, and congratulations on winning here at Sonoma in the Runoffs, winner take all. Greg?
All right, there you go. Morgan Burkhardt, winner of our first Runoffs race tonight here in RE2. Caleb Patry, the season was his, the regular season was his, but tonight belongs to Morgan Burkhardt. All right, so with that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get set up for our second race of the evening, qualifying and race, and that's going to be Spec Racer Ford, and we'll be back here in Sonoma in just a few minutes. You are watching the Runoffs for Season 4 of the Ray Esports Racing League here on Apex Racing TV, and we'll be right back.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background,
All right, we're back here at Sonoma Raceway at Sears Point at Infineon. I don't know what we're going to call it. We'll call it Sonoma Raceway tonight. I'm Greg Ginsburg. We got Brian Donati and, of course, Dennis Branch running all the controls and making things, frankly, Brian, making things easy, honestly. You know, I don't think we could do it without Dennis here every week.
Well, that is absolutely correct.
All right, so we're getting ready for race number 2, our Spec Racer Fords. And I'll tell you, you know, as we're looking through the field here, a lot of the same drivers, but a much bigger field in Spec Racer Ford than we saw a little bit earlier in the RE2s. And some of these guys, they are Spec Racer Ford experts, Spec Racer Ford phenoms. We've got Wan Chi Lin right there in the number 30 machine on camera right now. He's got a win this previous season. I think all he runs, well, we know he runs some MX-5s, but almost exclusively runs Spec Racer Fords. Of course, we've got Stevie Ray, the Ray in Ray Esports Racing. He's out there running in the race tonight, and I think he's also, and hopefully he posted the link up in the chat, but he's also going to be live streaming his race. God, he does it with virtual reality. I get car sick every time I watch the thing. I mean, I can't handle that. But and God knows if I did VR in my own rig, I'd probably just be sick all night long. But I'll tell you what, everybody, if you like what you're watching tonight, and we may have some folks that are in watching from the SCCA National Convention. I know Stevie Ray was talking up this event here, and so if you are, go ahead and wave hi in the live chat here on YouTube, or if you're not from the convention, wave hi. I mean, we see some great folks. Ben Forster, who I race with all the time, is here. We've got Lewis Lockshine. We've got, of course, Brennan Horan running. I bet you will see him a little bit later in the MX-5s. It should be. We've got a lot of folks. Heck, it looks like we've even got some folks from Russia watching us tonight. maybe they're getting ready to give
They're
us
gonna-
some gifts.
They're going to vote for us to keep going.
That's right, exactly. All right, so, but if you like what you see here tonight, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV. We've got just these great virtual motorsports events and races seemingly around the clock from around the world. And if you click on that notification bell, you can find out about all of them when they go live. And you can find out a lot of behind the scenes info about the different events and the different announcers and the different racers. If you look us up on either Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, just search for one word, Apex Racing TV. I know that doesn't sound like one word, but put it all in one word, compress it all. You'll find us. And and if you haven't done so already, go ahead and leave us a couple comments down in the YouTube channel here. It certainly helps the algorithm, and it also helps Brian's and my ego. So go ahead and leave us some love notes there. So Brian, as we get things underway here for our Spec Racer Ford race, and we are now a little bit over halfway through qualifying with Morgan Burkhardt and his teammate Jamison Huffman, who doesn't look like that's going to be a flying lap for Jamison. They are currently 1 and 2 here in qualifying. As we look back on season 4, we had 71 different drivers race in Spec Racer Ford with us over the 6 regular season races. Just great fields, great tight competition. And as we mentioned at the top of the field, top of the broadcast, the Iron Man this season, Caleb Patry took home the Spec Racer Ford championship on virtue of 2 wins. But I'll tell you, he didn't have it nearly as easy in Spec Racer Ford as he did in the RE2s this season, Brian.
No, he did not. As we're looking at the final point standing right now, Caleb Patry with that 125 points, outlasting Morgan Burkhardt with that 104. And then John Vogel, who the last couple of weeks has really come on. I'm not seeing John in here right now, but John Vogel, who is a Spec Racer Ford racer in real life, not just on the sim, again, just being edged out by Morgan, for that bronze last podium spot in the point standings with that 100. But I tell you what, John Vogel really came on the last couple of weeks. With these, it really made these races pretty interesting.
And talk about being in the right place at the right time. He was sitting 4th when our top 3 drivers went 3 wide into the final turn complex at Road Atlanta and crashed themselves out, and he took the win. He was in, I believe, 3rd place at Lime Rock Park going into the very last lap, and found himself on the lead as the leader coming out of the downhill. I mean, just absolutely in the right place at the right time. Patry with 2 wins, Burkhardt with 2 wins, Wanchi Lin, who we saw there on track here a few moments ago, who's currently 3rd fastest in qualifying, had a win. John Vogel had not 2 wins, he had 1 win, had that win at Road Atlanta. And, again, just very, very tight, close racing in Spec Racer Ford, by the nature of these beasts, where there is so little that you can adjust, that you can separate one car from another. It really is a driver's class, and these cars are so they are. My gosh, I'm at a loss for words. When am I ever at a loss for words, people? That these cars, they are not immune to the draft. They work very well in the draft, and they draft, I think, much better than those RE2 cars do. And maybe for a track like this, to get that run out of the S's, going down into the hairpin, being tucked up under somebody might really help. But I think one of the other big challenges that we're going to see here, to Brian, and this is not the first time that we've seen cars go off here, and we're seeing, look at that, as Charles Vaccaro ends up almost launching himself up towards where the woolly weeders are. One of the challenges we're going to see at this track, we saw it at Lime Rock with that small little chicane that we were running at Lime Rock, that these cars, you have to deal with liftoff oversteer. They're very light in the rear. And if you don't, if you're not smooth with your transitions from gas to brake to gas, you can put the rear end around. And we're seeing a lot of that here.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of that. But give credit to iRacing too, because this new kind of update with these, with these Spec Racer Fords really have made everything pretty much equal, right? It's all about obviously the setup and the driver. And you're right, Craig. If you get to the gas too quickly, you don't let the car settle and you don't let the car turn, it will loop the back end around. As we're seeing here, especially coming through 7 into 8 up into the S's. And we talked about it in our opening before we did on the RE2s, is that, we saw where they were going to have a lot of passes coming through the S's and out of turn 10 and then down into the heavy braking point of turn 11. Not only are you going to probably see that here on the first or second or even in the third lap of this race, you may see somebody go from 5th to 2nd because they're able to get in the draft with somebody and be able to be pulled around through the S's and then get into that hard braking. So it's going to be a lot of passing. With 25-minute clock at the early onset, you're going to see a lot of give and take, but as we start to run that clock down, I think that give and take is going to go by the wayside.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to see a lot of very tight, close battling. You may see some drivers, sit back in the draft there for a while. But, the other thing about these cars is they're very resilient. They can handle a little bit of punishment. And, we saw Vaccaro go up the hill and saw the bodywork fly off the car. And you may lose some bodywork, but, these things, they are very, very strong and resilient cars and can take a little bit of a pounding. So we've got now just about 40 seconds remaining in qualifying here. Morgan Burkhardt, our winner in the RE2s, our winner from race number 1 tonight. He is your provisional pole sitter with a fast time of a 143.20. Well, to be more exact, the 143.196. But now Jamison Huffman, Jamison Huffman jumps in with that 143.196. Morgan Burkhardt does have a 143.20, and it's that close between these two drivers. Wan Chi Lin, currently your third fastest driver. Caleb Patry, who finished on the podium in race number 1. He is sitting 4th. Now, I want to apologize, Brian. We did not get Nolan Allaire, who was our second place finisher in race number 1, into the commentary booth. Did not get him in for an interview. We had a little bit of a mix-up here with the platform that we use to interview drivers, and unfortunately, Nolan is not running any more races tonight. But I have a commitment that we should see him for season number 5. So hopefully, we'll have more opportunities to talk to Nolan.
Oh, that's fantastic. I would love to see him come back in and race next year for season 5. I think he's going to do obviously great things. And we talked about him early on in the runoffs doing quite well. And if we look here, we're overtime, but we still have a few cars on the track here kind of finishing up their last lap. And it's good to see that Justin Huffman decided to let Jamison plug his rig back in, because that has actually put him back up on the top step right now.
Well, I don't know if Jamison, got fully disconnected, because he was in the chat in YouTube talking about how slow his teammate Morgan was. So maybe a little, I don't know if that was a little smack talk, maybe hyping Morgan up a little bit for the second race. We may see fireworks here in our Spec Racer Ford race.
We may have to take lots of copious notes during this race, and that's going to be difficult for anybody to do, because I think you're going to see a lot of passing, as there is Mr. Greenfield again. You'd think that he's starting to get a little bit dizzy with as many times as he's gone around here so far already tonight.
Yeah, we'd like to see him make it through the hairpin in one piece there. So it looks like he's going to call off his last flying lap, and I think our last driver on a flying lap right there, the 399 machine of Josh Justice. He turns in a 145.70. That does not best his previous fast time of a 145.02. He's going to start 11th. And Brian, we should have the starting grid come up here soon enough, and once we do, we'll give you the starting order, and we'll get things underway for our second 25-minute sprint of the evening, our Spec Racer Fords.
Wait for that to click over there, and we'll get this going. I can tell you that by looking at the top of that board, your pole sitter and your front row should be Jamison Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt. So hopefully they're able to connect back in, because as I say that, sometimes they end up with a little bit of connectivity issues. So
that's right. Well, as Morgan living in the backwoods of West Virginia there. You never know what kind of connectivity he might have, but there we go. Now, Brian, we've got the starting grid. Why don't you tell everybody where our Spec Racer Ford drivers are going to start this evening?
All right. Well, I tell you what, now that he's got his sim rig plugged back in, as we've been saying all night, James Van Huffen, he's going to start on the pole with that time of 1:43.195, starting outside of row 1. In the number 2 position is going to be Morgan Burkhardt. Starting third inside of row 2 is going to be the 198 of Caleb Patry. Starting fourth, and we've talked about him with a win this year, is Wanchi Lin. Starting fifth is going to be Justin Huffman. Starting sixth is going to be the Greg Mack from Team Esport Racer. Starting seventh for another Team Esport Racer, and that's Brennan Huron. Starting eighth is Stevie Ray from Ray Esports Racing. He's going to start eighth. Starting ninth is going to be the Jordy Fike. Starting 10th is going to be Mark Santana. Starting 11th, Joshua Justice. Starting in the 12th position outside row 6 is going to be Mike Key. Starting 13th is going to be the number 36 there. That's going to be Deacon Greenfield. Starting 14th outside row 7 is going to be Charlie Ficcaro. Starting 15th, the number 78 of John Casey. Starting 16th, the number 18 of Mark Sherman. Starting 17th is going to be the 700. That's Joaquin Effinger. Starting 18th, Andrew Wozencroft. And starting 19th, just behind Joaquin Effinger, is going to be the number 73. That's Wayne Buttermore. Starting 20th, our own photographer, that's going to be Travis Trussell. Starting 21st is going to be the 5 of Murphy Nichols. Starting 22nd is going to be the 066 of Patrick Prevenus. And I believe that is it, Greg. I think that is all of them that are in there. It doesn't look like Patrick Prevenus was able to make the starting grid. He may end up starting from the grid.
Yeah, he may end up starting from the pit lane. All right. Yeah. So we've got the field underway. They're making their way now down through turn 5. They go over that little crest and down into the carousel. And while they do, we've got about another half of a pace lap here to go. Let's talk about our sponsor for tonight's second race of the evening, and it's Spec Racer Sports. For Season 4, we would like to welcome Spec Racer Sports to the Ray Esports family, and their mission is to help fuel and support your addiction to road racing. They feel that the way to accomplish this is by providing exceptional customer support, the parts and services you need when you need them, and of course at a fair competitive price. Spec Racer Sports currently stables Spec Racer Fords and offers rental cars that are exceptionally prepared. They're located trackside at Motorsports Ranch Houston, with access to the track for a rental or test drive that can easily be arranged. In addition to new car sales, storage, and support, they've got a complete complement of technical services such as chassis dyno work, driver coaching, and fabrication, and they offer all of these services at very competitive rates. To find out more about Spec Racer Sports and their services, head on over to specracersports.com. All right, and again, great to have them on board this season. A great sponsor here as the pace car now brings our pole sitter, Jamison Huffman, along with Morgan Burkhardt, down towards the hairpin. The pace car now on the pit lane as Huffman leads the field. Actually, Burkhardt got a lead in the field through the hairpin there, but they're going to get back in line here with Huffman to driver's left. He'll have position as they go into that left-hander and then head right up the hill towards turn number 2. And once again, green flag early before the front row even gets to turn 12, and they're on their way as Burkhardt pushes Huffman all the way to the wall at the apex of turn number 1. And as they come up the hill now, it is the 89 car. He's got the point with Burkhardt running in second, Patry in third, all the all-sport racers right in a row. Then we've got Justin Huffman in the 223 machine. He gets around Wanchi Lin in the 30, so drop that orange and white number 30 back to 5th. Then we've got Brennan Horn in the number 45 machine. He's left the chat on YouTube and gotten behind a Spec Racer Ford. We'll see how the number 45 machine does. And he's got his teammate Greg Mack, but it looks like we've got a car off. That is over at turn 4, and we're going for the wild ride. Who is that? That is Charles Vaccaro in the 221 machine. He's got a long way to go to get to the rest of the field, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was any contact going down through there. It looks like he may have just overran that corner just a little bit too much and just had to really get on the brake because he was definitely not going to make that corner. as our cars start to head down towards 7. Again, we're looking at the 700 here of Joaquin Effinger, and I would assume that Wayne Buttermore's pretty much somewhere around there.
Hey, look
Wayne
at that.
Buttermore's right in front of, 2 cars in front of him, so he's got a gap between him and Buttermore, and that car is actually going to be Wozencroft, who's in between there. So the meet in the middle there.
There you go. And we've got John Casey in that number 78 machine sitting right behind him. There you go. Wozencroft loses position to Murphy Nichols. So it's now Wozencroft in 15th, Buttermore in 16th, nose to tail. Surprise, surprise, surprise. As we jump back to the battle for the lead. And it is a 4-car battle. There are 2 Huffmans in it. One is your leader, Jamison Huffman, in the number 89 machine. Then we've got his father, Justin Huffman, running in 4th in that orange and black. In the orange and black number 223 machine. We've got Morgan Burkhardt and Caleb Patry sandwiched between them as they make their way up the hill through turn number 2. Wanchi Lin starting to close things down a little bit on Justin Huffman, and maybe Huffman, the second Huffman, maybe starting to bottle some of the pack up behind him. We've got Lin, as we mentioned, then Wanchi Lin and Greg Mack, the 2 Team Esport Racer entries. Then we've got Jordy Fike. Now, a bit of a surprise here. We didn't talk about it. Stevie Ray. There he is in that silver and burgundy number 11 Ray Esports Racing machine. He started a little bit further back in the pack than maybe we thought he would. He started in 8th position. He is currently running in 11th, trying to make his way back up through the field as we watch. There's Murphy Nichols, who started at the tail end gunner here. And it wouldn't be a race with Murphy Nichols if he wasn't blinking in and out, showing us the great internet connectivity that they have in Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah, tends to go out a little bit, but I think you're right, Greg. You talk about the Justin Huffman maybe temporarily holding Wanchi Lin, Greg Mack, and Brendan Huron up. I think it's just a product of that's where they're at, and the other 3 are just that much faster and starting to pull away. As all 3 of those with the same paint scheme and teammates start to pull away. As now we look here, coming down into turn 11, looks like Wanchi Lin's really wanting to make a move here over Justin Huffman as they go side by side in. Wanchi Lin gets right on that curbing. Got to be careful. Those giant concrete, no flat tires in there will will mess up your car for sure. Yeah,
exactly. That's how they keep them from blowing away in the night wind there. But maybe not. As you said, maybe Justin Huffman wasn't really holding up the pack there, because it looks like both Wanchi Lin and Justin Huffman have separated themselves out from the 3 Team Esport racers there. As Brennan Horan now runs wide, and he's going to give up a position to his teammate Jordy Fike. So move Fike now up in the 7th. Fike had started in 9th, so he's picked up 2 positions. And then we've got just ahead of him, Greg Mack, and sitting right back behind that battle. Look at this fight. Oh, Josh Justice and Stevie Ray. Looked like there was some contact there, Brian, and Justice goes off wide at turn number 4. As Stevie Ray continues on, that's going to drop Justice now all the way down to 14th.
Yeah, as we look here, we'll look to see if we can get a replay from Dennis back there, but it did look like that Stevie Ray had the position. Joshua Justice really had nowhere to go coming in there. He was at driver's left. Stevie Ray actually had the preferred line right through there. Again, both drivers need to kind of give away as we're starting to watch it now as they come down, get ready to head down into turn 4. Just nowhere to go. Just a racing incident, trying to fight for the same position. As we go back here to our leaders here, Jamison Huffman starting to open it up just a little bit over Morgan Burkhardt and Caleb Patry as he starts to pull away, heading down into turn 11, Greg.
Yeah, and a little earlier in that lap, Brian, as they had come out of the carousel and they were going to turn 7, it looked like the Blue Angels or something there as they were in a diamond formation running through that Patry, the 3rd car in line there. He just didn't have anywhere to go as both Huffman and Burkhardt were sitting. They were side by side, but there was about 3/4 of a car width between them. At the point here as they come through, they cross the stripe, completing lap number 3 and start to make the run up the hill. Looks like Huffman's maybe opened up a little bit of a gap on Burkhardt and Patry, but again, the draft here is so strong. And look at this, Brian, what a surprise. It's Wayne Buttermore running in 16th. He's picked up 3 positions so far in the number 73 machine, and right on his tail, Joaquin Effinger in the number 700 machine.
I am shocked they are running together. As we
Brian,
get to one of our leaders, looks like that is Caleb Patry that went around.
Yeah, Patry went around, and it looked like I saw Justin Huffman off as well. Let's take a look and see what happens here as they make the run up towards turn 4. We have Patry coming through. They make the run back down the hill towards towards turn 4 and into 5, and Patry loses the rear end of the car, and it looks like looks like Huffman had the rear end step out on him as well. So Wanchi Lin now he is running in third all by his lonesome there with nobody. Well, he's got people in front and behind, but a big gap up to Morgan Burkhardt in second, and then a big gap back to Greg Mack. We've got the 3-team Esport racers who have all gotten around both Huffman as well as Patry, and Patry with the drop of the wheels there falls all the way back to 10th.
Yeah, just a product of a mistake there. We've seen it from our overall champion in all 3 of our series this year, Greg. 2 quick early on mistakes on this racetrack by Caleb Patry is going to cost him position. So we'll have to see how far he's going to be able to get back up. But right now, sitting in that as he moved past Mark Santana, or fighting with Mark Santana right now, all the way back into 10th place.
You know, just see, we got to post it up on the timing tower there as our 2 front runners, Huffman and Burkhardt, are getting faster and faster. Burkhardt just turns the fastest lap of the race at a 1:43.020, and Huffman was only, I think, about 0.2 off of that. So, you know, I talked about how Huffman had maybe opened up some ground on Burkhardt, and again, with the draft, it's gone. So let's watch this battle right now. We're following the two of the 3-team Esport racer machines. This is Jordy Fike and Brennan Horn, as it looks like Greg Mack has really managed to walk away from these 2 drivers. They've got Justin Huffman sitting right back behind, and Stevie Ray as well. So a 4-car battle at the moment for 5th position. And, you know, again, for the moment there, Greg Mack sitting in 4th, kind of, he's got a couple, maybe a couple corners that he can breathe and relax.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he's starting to pull away. But I tell you what, it'd be interesting to see the in-car stream of Stevie Ray that he is showing right now coming up on this battle between Jordy Fike, Brennan Horn, and Justin Huffman. That's got to be a fantastic scene to go and look in there and watch this. As we're going to ride on board here with Stevie Ray as he starts to close up a little bit. Again, Stevie Ray kind of involved early on there with a little bit of that incident.
With Justice, yeah.
With Justice, yeah. So he's starting to fight his way back in there. It looked like one of our cones got out in the middle of the racetrack, but that's okay. We'll run over it, and it'll get put back where it needs to be.
I was going to say, you can hit that cone all day long. It will. One of the volunteers here will always put it back before the drivers come back around. Probably the busiest man at Sonoma Raceway is the guy who has to pick up that cone. As we watch Jamison, Huffman, and Burkhardt, and again, the gap that Huffman had built up completely gone now as these 2 drivers are now nose to tail. We're working lap number 6. We are only about 10 minutes into this 25-minute race, and you know, I'm watching here to see what Wanchi Lin is doing as he sits in 3rd without the benefit of the draft. But that last time by, Wanchi Lin knocked about 0.2 of a second off of our 2 leaders, but he is still a little bit less than 3 seconds behind there. As you can see him coming out of the carousel, he's got a long way to go, and you know, I'm sure that he is just waiting for the moment that Burkhardt and Huffman just really start fighting so that they can fall back into his clutches.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's kind of really what he is waiting for, Greg. Again, 10 minutes into this race, still early on. Remember, we've talked about this kind of all season long, and we've actually heard this from the drivers. These tires on these cars, they're going to go away, and when they go away quick. It's not like you can get through 1 or 2 laps before they start to go away. When they fall off, they fall off, and these cars become a handful. As we're sitting here watching the Jordy Fike, I believe that is, or Brennan Horan trying to stay up with Jordy Fike right there, kind of going all over drivers' offs here and left. So that is not going to bode well for that safe driver award.
All right, let's take a look. We've got a replay here coming up as they come over towards turn 7. That's right behind Stevie Ray. That's Caleb Patry, and right behind Patry, Mark Santana. And you can see there, Patry, not sure what happened there, Brian, but I believe Caleb Patry has now checked out of the session. His day appears to be done. He just came through turn 7 and didn't make the second apex and checked on out. So unfortunate for him. He was our regular season champion, in Spec Racer Ford, and unfortunately his race ends now.
Yeah, kind of hard to see, kind of heartbroken there, because I thought for sure that this would be the race that he would probably pull out a win here, you know, in our runoffs here in this winner take all format. But you know, our leader Morgan Burkhardt and Jameson Huffman, again, these two have been the class of not only the fields all year long, but now the class of the fields here, starting to pull away from Wan Lin by about 2 seconds. But you're right, Wan Lin hoping that those two battle. As we drop back just a little bit further here, we're looking at Joshua Justice and Deacon Greenfield. Again, both drivers there had some issues early on. Deacon Greenfield had some challenges early on with some spins during qualifying and able to get through there. That seems to be okay at this point, but now Joshua Justice here, he's trying to fight off Deacon Greenfield. That's 11th and 12th.
Yeah, so that is fairly close to where Justice was when he got into that little run-in with Stevie Ray, but it looks like he's gotten things under control there. And they have just a little bit further up the road is Murphy Nichols in that number 5 machine. Nichols, though, has made up 11 positions. Again, he started tail end of the field tonight, and I think 22nd or 23rd. So as we jump back to this battle right now, the battle for 5th, we've got Jordy Fike, we've got Brennan Horn, then we've got Justin Huffman, who started 5th this evening, currently sitting in 7th, and Stevie Ray started in 8th. That's where he is currently. And this as Horn takes to the curbing at the apex of turn number 2.
I have to tell you, Greg, it'd be interesting to see the inside shot of Brennan Hearn in his sim, because I tell you what, that car is just looking so very unstable. I don't know if it's a setup issue that he's really fighting, or was it some contact early on, but that car just does not look stable to try to get around Jordy Fike. Now, I know they're teammates, but at some point, that car, as we have, looks like one car that may have gone off here. That may be Mark Santana.
That's Mark Santana.
Yeah.
And you know, I was going to make the point here that you know, that we talked earlier about the excellent driver awards for the drivers with the fewest incident points, and of course Mark Santana won in Spec Racer Ford. Brennan Horn, who was responsible for tabulating the winners of each of the 3 classes of the Excellent Driver Award, and I think he said on week number 1 that he felt safe doing the tabulation because there was no way he was going to win. I guess call a spade, right?
I guess that's an early, as we check back here with our leaders, and it does look like now that Jameson Huffman's going to try to make that inside move against his teammate of Morgan Burkhardt as they come across the start-finish line, Greg. Morgan Burkhardt, you know, right there at the rear of it. I tell you what, it may look like Jameson Huffman's going to have the preferred line as we get up into 2, but Morgan Burkhardt trying to break the draft, trying to get side draft off of him, able to close that down over Jameson Huffman.
All right, I just got word that all of the sessions at the SCCA convention just finished up. So I think it's like intermission at a Broadway play or something. I think we've got everybody starting to funnel in and watch the differences. I think they have drinks in hand right now, Brian. So we'll have to.
What's the problem with that? With having a drink in your hand? But well, no.
Hopefully it'll make the YouTube chat awfully colorful. That's all I can hope for.
Well, I tell you what, as we were watching there, as we were talking about that, and we were taking a look at our leaders there, Morgan Burkhardt, and I know we're back here with the Brennan Hearn, and that Wan Lin is starting to reel those two in because they are starting. He's now just about a second half. Thank you, Dennis. As Dennis picks up that lead, I noticed that out of the corner of my eye the last time by. He is now right at 1 second, where that was 1.5 seconds. So you can see where Morgan Burkhardt and Jameson Huffman starting to battle is now going to become a 3-car battle, because Wan Lin in certain parts of this racetrack, Greg, he's going to be in their draft. He's going to pick that up and be there.
That's right. And when they make the run here, make this quick little left-hander, and then start to make the run down towards turn 10 and going into the hairpin, that's where Wan Lin is going to pick things up. And you can see here, as Morgan Burkhardt now takes over the lead from Jameson Huffman, the number 40 machine moving up to first, Huffman in second. And as they went side by side, just for that little moment there, into the hairpin, that allowed the number 30 machine to close things in. And so he is, as you mentioned, he's right at that 1 second mark. He is definitely, for some of the straightaways here, going to be able to get in the draft. And, you know, again, Wan Lin, he is he is a specialist in the Spec Racer Fords. He's been running for years in the Weekend Warriors League, which is a Spec Racer Ford league that pulls in about 60 drivers every week from all around the world. And again, he does have wins here this season. And you can see there, under braking, as Stevie Ray goes around in 8th, and he's going to get that car back underway. Now is that, I think that was coming through turn 5 here, but you can see now Wan Chi Lin, he's now right on the back of our 2 leaders here. As we jump back a little bit further back, this is Travis Trussell in the number 40 machine, probably the 140 machine. Then we've got the 222 of Mark Santana, and Trussell running a little wide there, coming out of 4. And then right behind Santana, we've got Andrew Wozencroft. And Santana, you may want to give that excellent driver award back, Brian. But he goes around there, coming through turn 4, and we've seen a lot of drivers now go around there turn 4. When you let off the throttle just a little bit, it's downhill, it's off camber. All the load gets on the front wheels, and it's just very easy for the rear end to come around on these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, but I don't think he's going to give away that trophy just yet. He's going to work hard to try to pick that thing and keep that there in his back pocket, but he's going to jump back in as we start to look at Brennan Horan, Jordy Fike, and Justin Huffman here. That's a battle for 5th, 6th, and 7th. We had Stevie Ray as part of that, but he has dropped back with that little spin. But just so short, a little bit ahead of this battle is the 2 of Greg Mack.
Yeah, I was just going to say, these guys are catching back up to Mack, who had really separated himself out.
And I'll tell you what, Greg, looking at the timing and scoring, though, and I'm not sure what has happened with Wan Chi Lin, but he may have had an off excursion somewhere, because he's now 6 seconds a little bit behind, I think, our top 2 leaders. So let's see if we can pick up what happened to Wan Chi Lin. Here we go, Greg. As our leaders start to head down into turn 11, they go side by side. It could be that Wan Chi Lin, again, really trying to get in there hard to try to take that outside turn. Thought he could get a 2-for-1 deal there. Ended up not doing it. So that is where. So a great pickup by our guy in the truck, Dennis Branch, picking that up for us, because when I looked at the timing and scoring, being 6.5 seconds back from our overall leaders there, something definitely had to happen to fall back.
And contact with Morgan Burkhardt getting into the back of the 89 of Jamison Huffman as they came through turn 7. I was just going to say that Wan Chi Lin's going to have to do it all over again. But I'll tell you, if these two keep fighting it out like this, he might be back in this battle soon enough, as Huffman manages to recover. Burkhardt gets out of the throttle and gives a little bit of a gap to the 89 machine. But most likely now, both of those machines may be a little bit damaged. Brian, the one thing about with the Spec Racer Fords, and it doesn't look so bad here, the Spec Racer Fords, you see that little mail slot at the front of the car, that is the air intake for these cars. And in real life, it doesn't take much to fold up that little mail slot to just a tiny little sliver, and it really makes the water temps go up through the roof here. But it looks like for now they're okay, as we jump back over to this battle for 5th position with Jordy Fike, Brennan Horan, and Justin Huffman. And again, they're making up some ground on Greg Mack. It may be a 5-car battle there for 4th here in just a few moments. 3 of them being those Team Esport racer machines.
Yeah, you're right, Greg. They are starting to reel in Greg Mack. So I'm not sure if Greg Mack is just trying to take it easy, or this last 3 here of Jordy Fike, Brennan Horan, and Justin Huffman, they've gotten just that much faster. By looking at the times, they're really not that much faster, because they have been battling, but it's the product of that draft. You go running outside without a partner, even in this, some of these tight turns, without a drafting partner, you're going to lose some speed. So.
Yeah, I mean, there are plenty of places like right here coming out of the carousel, just that short run onto the drag strip and then down towards turn 7. Not having the draft there certainly is a disadvantage. Then obviously coming out of turn 9, going into turn 10, making the way down towards the drag tower, that area as well. Lots of places here. The one saving grace that he may have, that Greg Mack may have, is it looks like, at least on that last lap, both Jordy Fike and Brennan Horan had spent just a couple of seconds side by side. So it helped Jordy Fike separate himself a little bit, and probably frustrated Justin Huffman to no end in the 223 machine. As going around one more time, Mark Santana in that car, Brian, looks very, very hurt.
Yeah, that left front does not look healthy at all. I don't even know what you would call that. That definitely camber, caster and camber on that left front. I don't even know if you can use the word caster camber on that left front anymore.
No,
after looking at it.
It's almost an open wheel car. Now, the Spec Racer Fords in real life, they've got fiberglass body panels. So, I mean, an incident like that probably would have just shattered the front cowling there. But that car looks very hurt. I'm sure it doesn't want to drive in a straight line. And most likely, if he can get it in a straight line, it's not going to be very fast in a straight line. So we'll see. As Santana currently sitting 16th, he started 10th this evening.
And we got one of our guys going off there, Greg.
There you go. The non-excellent driver. I don't want to say that. That doesn't sound good. But Brennan Horan running wide. That's going to move him back to 7th now. So Justin Huffman takes over his position. Let's take a look and see what happened here as they run up the hill, up through turn 3, then quickly down the hill, go to turn 4. And I'll bet you here coming off the throttle, Brian.
Yep, there it is. Just running it a little bit wide. You know, our excellent drive award winner tabulator. He didn't
yes.
He didn't tabulate that entry into that turn as we pick back up here with our leaders.
All right, we're back with Huffman and Burkhardt as we now have just a little bit over 2.5 minutes remaining here. So looks like we're probably going to have this lap. We're going to finish this lap, and we will probably have 2 more laps to go before we get to the checkered flag, as they are once again locked nose to tail. Wan Chi Lin has not been able to make up that ground. He is still almost 7 seconds back as they are now side by side for the briefest of moments, going through turn 1, coming up that hill, that 60-foot rise up to turn number 2. And they're going to go again nose to tail as they weave and wind their way through the upper portions of this Sonoma Raceway course over towards turn 3 and back down the hill. Neither of these drivers have had problems getting on the brakes and doing that weight transfer going into turn 4 as they continue to work their way around. And Brian, I was just looking to see if we had any drivers that they might be coming up on, and I don't think they're going to be coming up on any slower traffic here, perhaps until the very end of the race.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see any drivers get involved in this from a lap traffic perspective. But I clearly think these two are just having some fun sitting in the sims, probably talking to each other. And just as we say that, they're probably going to come up on Wayne Buttermore here, possibly. Or that may not even be. That may have been Mike Key, and I think he just dropped out of the session anyway. So I think he got out before they got there. But you can tell these two are having some fun. I think that Jamison Huffman is a little bit faster than Morgan Burkhardt as now they start to come out of the S's and head up through turn 9 and turn 10 with that lead that you talked about with 6.5 seconds. These two are just having some fun, just seeing where they can better each other. Again, we're probably going to get the white flag right here. Yep. With just about probably about 30 seconds left to go by the time they get to the start-finish line.
That's
so
right.
This could be the white flag, so these two, look for them to battle all the way through the rest. It's not going to be an easy lap for either one of them.
No, and so Burkhardt, who got around Huffman as they came through turn 7, Brian, you said that Huffman, looks to be the stronger of the two drivers. The one place where Burkhardt has been very, very quick is through turn 7 and 7A coming off the drag strip. He got into the back of got into the back of Huffman a couple laps ago, but this time was able to make the pass stick as they come up through turns 1 and 2, going over that curbing at turn number 3, and now they're going to make that quick drop down to turn number 4 and down the hill as they make the run down towards the carousel, with Burkhardt getting a decent run out of there. Opens things up to about 2 car lengths maybe, but Huffman's able to close it back up. Burkhardt gets a big wiggle there going into the carousel, and he's going to lose some speed. This might be the opportunity that Huffman needs to make the run down to turn 7. Burkhardt's going to try to cover the inside, though, as they come down, and you're right, they're coming up on Buttermore in that 73. And now look at Huffman. Huffman tries to come underneath, and Burkhardt loses the rear end of the car going through 7, the place where he had looked so strong. He's going to fall back to 2nd now, with Jamison Huffman with now just 1/2 lap to go, taking over the lead in the number 89 machine. machine. Burkhardt's going to drop back to second into the grip of Wan Chi Lin. We'll see if Lin can come back and maybe take another spot away. But here it is, Jamison Huffman making the run through turn 10. He's going to come down towards the hairpin for the very last time. Does he take out that cone? No, he does not. And they come down into the hairpin only. 2 turns remain, and it looks like Burkhardt was able to hold off Wan Chi Lin. Lin just not quite close enough, and as Jamison Huffman rounds turn 12, comes onto the front straight, he's going to win our second race of the evening. Jamison Huffman is our series season 4 runoff winner in Spec Racer Ford. Morgan Burkhardt will come home in second. Wan Chi Lin will finish third. Greg Mack holds on to fourth, with Jordy Fike finishing fifth. Justin Huffman in sixth. Brennan Horn holds on for seventh. Then we've got Murphy Nichols. Great run for Murphy Nichols. Started back in 21st position. He makes up 13 spots. He will finish in eighth. Stevie Ray there crossing the stripe will come home in ninth. Josh Justice will round out the top 10. And so there you go, race number 2 in the books as the remainder of our field comes across the line. Greenfield and Travis Trussell come across now. And Brian, as the rest of our drivers finish up, tell you what, why don't we bring in our winner tonight in Spec Racer 4, driver of the number 89 All Sports Racing Machine, Jamison Huffman.
Jamison Huffman, congratulations on your win here at Sonoma in this Runoffs winner take all. Talk about that win, and you're battling there with Morgan Burkhardt, and it's glad to see that your dad let you plug your sim back in, that you didn't get in for the first one.
Yeah, I was thinking about that USF race, and I decided not to risk it. I did not think it was going to end well for me. But this race, it was fun, but still just as sketchy. I know me and Morgan were kind of drifting some corners, and it was just whoever could keep it alive and still run decent times. But that was a good race.
Well, I can tell you what, we definitely saw it real quick. We definitely saw where the tires, when they fall off, they really fell off, and you guys really had to really muscle that car through these turns. So talk about how much fall off real quickly your cars had towards the end of this race.
It was pretty bad. I know, as soon as the sun came out, heading into, I want to say T4, as soon as I saw the sun came out, I almost spun it there. And that kind of was the point of turnover. I think it was just kind of what it ended up being. And it dropped off hard. Like we still kept running quick laps, but the sketchiness went up a lot. Like it was stepping out so much more, and it was much harder to drive and try and race them at the same time.
Well, again, I tell you what, congratulations for winning here in the Spec Racer Ford Sonoma winner take all in this runoffs. Who do you like to thank not only tonight, but real quickly for the year?
I'd like to thank my parents for racing me, giving me all this equipment, and my dad for plugging back in the sim, like he said. My teammates helping me through the season with everything, just everything that you could imagine. Morgan for putting up that great race. You guys for making this great broadcast, and Stevie and all the admins helping him out for this league.
Well, I tell you what, again, congratulations on your win here. Best of luck in the next race. And Greg, I'm going to send it back over to you.
All right. Well, tell you what, why don't we bring in, now that we've got Jamison Huffman, our winner in Spec Racer Fords, and he's grabbed all the glory, why don't we bring in Morgan Burkhardt? We talked to him a little bit earlier after the RE2 race, but he had a great battle going here until the very last lap. Let's talk to our second place finisher, Morgan Burkhardt.
Morgan Burkhardt, congratulations, finishing second here at the runoffs here at Sonoma. I got to tell you, man, looking at that race, when these cars and these tires really fell off, they fell off. Talk about that run with you and Jamison. We talked to him a couple minutes ago. He mentioned when the sun came out, you could see that the tires really started to go away. At what point did your tires really start to go away in this race?
It was about 18, 19 minutes in. They started to kind of fall off a bit, starting to lose a bit of grip, get a little bit more understeer. I set my car up so that it would be better through the high-speed transitions and a little bit better on tires. I think he was using a slightly older version, so he got off the corners a lot better. But yeah, tires really kind of surprising. They haven't gone off this bad for as long as I've been driving the car, so a little bit weird.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit more here tonight than any of the other weeks, that when they did go off, they went off in a hurry and quickly. But again, congratulations on a very successful year here in this race season 4. Congratulations for finishing second at Runoffs for this winner take all at Sonoma. Talk about who you want to thank, not only for this race, but really for the year in the Spec Racer Fords.
Well, I'd like to thank the series sponsor, Alliance Autosport. It's really cool that they've hopped in to support us this year. I'd like to thank my parents for supporting me and making all of this possible, and the rest of the All Sports team, of course. How could I forget that? Really just helping with qualifying and setup help and all that. So thankful for them. All
right. Well, I tell you what, we appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you racing here this week, and all the races during the season. And Greg, I'm going to send this back over to you.
All right. Well, thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt, finishing second tonight in the Spec Racer Fords, and so that leaves us with just one race remaining here from Sonoma Raceway. It is our Spec Miata or Mazda MX-5 race. Always brings a smile to my face, and I'm sure to Brian's as well. But what we're going to do first, we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to thank some of our sponsors, and then when we come back, it is going to be that 25-minute battle to the checker in the MX-5s here from Sonoma. You are watching the Season 4 runoffs of the Ray Esports Racing League, and we'll be right back.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfalla.
And Ray Alfalla is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Welcome back to a virtual Sonoma Raceway for the Season 4 runoffs of the Ray Esports Racing League. I'm Greg Ginsburg, along with Brian Donati, and of course we've got Dennis Branch flipping all the levers and pulling all the switches and making us look good here tonight, Brian. And we've got one more race to go. We've got our MX-5s, our Spec Miata race here. And we've got the drivers out for qualifying for their 15-minute qualifying session. And once again, we're about halfway through. So while we've got a tiny little bit of time here, why don't we go and do a little bit of a recap of the season, or at least let you know who took away the championship. It shouldn't be a big surprise because I think we've mentioned his name way too many times tonight. Of the 67 entrants in the MX-5 class here in season number 4 over 6 different weeks, taking the championship, the third at the championship. I mean, he ran the table. Caleb Patry, 112 points with a margin of 5 points over Morgan Burkhardt, who we just talked to a few moments ago. Brennan Horan in the number 45 Team Esport Racer Machine came in third in the championship, only 1 point back from Burkhardt. And you could see there as they came into the final week of the season, he was actually running second. And with 2 weeks to go, Brennan Horan had been sitting atop the leaderboard, so he dropped from first down to third. I'm sure he doesn't want me to remind him of that. Lewis Lockshine came home in fourth, with Jamison Huffman rounding out the top 5. And speaking of Lewis Lockshine, he was your Excellent Driver Award winner in the MX-5s here in Season 4. So congratulations to Lewis, driver of the number 124 machine, currently third fastest here in qualifying, as we still have just about 5 minutes remaining in qualifying, Brian.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how well this goes. We don't want him to have the Mark Santana curse, as we gave that trophy out to Mark Santana in the last race, and Mark had all different kinds of issues and troubles. But I think that again, as you talked about with Lockshine sitting there in third, been pretty consistent all year long. Kind of getting just outside the podiums here in this MX-5, but look for him to actually probably make a little bit of noise here in this last race between Caleb Patry, really Morgan Burkhardt. And again, looking at this board right now, let's throw in Kyle Vallejos and Joshua Soto as well.
Yeah, and of course, Soto. We were talking about Wan Chi Lin being that Spec Racer Ford specialist. Josh Soto is very much along those lines. Actually, was calling a race in another championship, another league last night at Bathurst, and watched him make a run from I think like 25th all the way up to 4th. And when you consider what Bathurst is, it's really an amazing run there, and he's done very well. He did not, I'd say he had an off week last week at Virginia International Raceway in the Ray Esports League, but had run very, very well a number of weeks before that. So we'll see how he does here this evening as we watch right now. This is, I believe we've got Greg Mack in the number 2 machine, and then we've got Sean Hayes in that yellow and black number 94 right behind him. Hayes currently 17th fastest in qualifying, and Greg Mack 12th fastest in qualifying as they come down into the hairpin here with again just now over 3 minutes remaining in qualifying. Josh Soto, who we talked about a few moments ago, 5th fastest at the moment, but your provisional pole sitter, Caleb Patry, in the number 198 machine. Morgan Burkhardt in the number 40 machine, 2nd fastest. Separation between those two drivers, 66 thousandths of a second around this 2.5 mile course. So 66 thousandths separating you over 2.5 miles. Pretty darn amazing. And the fourth fastest, Kyle Vallejos, as you mentioned, driver of the number 35 machine, then Soto. And Wan Chi Lin is out here in the MX-5s. He's going to take another run at it here this evening in the number 30 machine. We'll see how he does as well.
Yeah, as we go back up, and now we'll talk about Joshua Soto again, as now he moves up to third, which is going to move Lockshine back a little bit. But yeah, Wan Chi Lin sitting there right there in sixth place right now. Provisional for as we get ready to wrap up our qualifying here. There's a couple guys in here that I've seen that you know, right now that are not where they want to be, and I think it could be it just depends on whether or not you can get hooked up with the right person, Greg, to get pulled or pushed around this racetrack.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got Jamison Huffman in the 89 machine currently sitting 15th fastest, but I mean, you can see how tight everything is there. There he is, making his way through the S's. He's got cars a couple hundredths ahead of him, a couple hundredths behind him, lots of cars in that 147.3 range, so very, very tight. We've got currently Sean Hayes down in 17th. I'm sure not exactly where he would expect to be right now. Hey, look at this. Sitting right together, Joaquin Effinger and Wayne Buttermore within just a couple hundredths of a second of one another. I think Brennan Horn also in the 45 machine. I think he'll definitely admit that he is a much stronger MX-5 driver than he is a Spec Racer Ford driver, and I think he would possibly expect to be a little bit further up at the moment than 7th. But again, you know, it's very tightly packed. He's only a couple hundredths off of Wan Chi Lin for 6th. And you know, and I think also in the MX-5s, Horn races these sometimes much better than he qualifies. So we'll see how things play out here, as we've got now just a little bit over 1 minute remaining in qualifying. And you know, Larry, as things are winding, or Larry, I'm sorry, Brian. Not that I'm leaving you for my other announcing partner, no. But sorry, Brian. Big shout out there to Larry Lefty McLeod, who I worked with last night. But you know, I mentioned early on about the sheep here at Sonoma, and I love bringing these little tidbits up. You know, it's very brown here. There are probably only a couple weeks during the year where the grass is actually green, because it's kind of a desert area here in Sonoma wine country, and you know, a lot of brown, burned up grass and dirt and whatever. But they have at Sonoma a flock of about 4,000 sheep. All right. And these sheep, they are provided by the Rocky Mountain Woolly Weeders. And their job, these sheep's job, is basically to wander the hills around Sonoma Raceway and eat the grass. That, you know, rather than you know, having to deal with noise abatement and dealing with weed eaters and lawnmowers, they just unleash the sheep to chop everything up. And you know, and if that doesn't sound weird enough, at Sonoma Raceway, and I saw this when I was announcing for the runoffs in 2018, as the checkered flag is now out on the session. Final flying laps will count. Morgan Burkhardt moves to the top of the leaderboard with Caleb Patry 21 thousandths of a second back. You know, but if the deal with the sheep wandering the hills wasn't strange enough, Brian, when I was at Sonoma, I got a little bit of a tour. There is in a section of the track an aviary. Basically, they've got 15 different owl boxes there, and they want the owls to nest there. And essentially, what the owls around Sonoma Raceway do is they drive around and they scoop up all the rats and the mice around the track and fly them away. and if you've ever been to Laguna Seca and you've seen the hill on the outside of turn by the outside of turn 4, where there are just these like billions of little rat things that run from side to side all day long, they could use 15 or so different owl boxes with, you know, a ton of different owls to fly around and do rat mitigation. Very, very cool there.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting what they have at Sonoma and what they do with some of the habitat and the animals that they allow to and that they want to. So
yeah. I don't want to say everything is different in California, but you know you don't have to deal with as much. You talk about not having to deal with exhaust from and noise from lawnmowers, but we're talking about a racetrack.
Exactly.
Where you got race cars going all day long. So I don't know. I don't know how that jives, but yeah, just very interesting how that's done. All right. So as we mentioned, checkered flag out on the session. We'll have the starting grid up here for you in just a moment. I think Wanchi Lin may be one of the only drivers still out on course currently. Stevie Ray, who's going to join us for our second race, he's there as well on a little bit of a cool down lap. But we should have the starting grid here momentarily. And just again, a quick reminder, and heck, I'm pleading with you, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash that thumbs up, and please go ahead and subscribe to Apex Racing TV and click on the notification bell. And if you haven't done so already, leave some nice comments down there. It helps the algorithm, brings more people to the channel, gives the Ray Esports Racing League more visibility. So please go ahead and do that. So Brian, I'm going to hand it over to you for the starting grid for our final race of the evening.
All right, final race of the evening here at our Sonoma Runoff. Starting on the pole is going to be Morgan Burkhart with that time 1:45.736. Starting outside of row 1. In the second position is going to be Caleb Patry. Starting third, good run here in the last couple of seconds of qualifying, is going to be the 30 of Wanchi Lin. Fourth, starting outside of second row, is going to be Joshua Soto. Starting fifth, going to be Lewis Lockshine. Sixth, outside row 3 is going to be Kyle Vallejos. Starting seventh in that number 45, we talked about him all night long, is pretty much going to be Brennan Horan. Starting in eighth is going to be his teammate from Team Esport Racer, is going to be the 09 of Jordy Fike. Starting in ninth is going to be the 77, that's Michael Incencio. Starting 10th in the number 99, that is going to be Christopher Bermudez. Starting 11th in that 94 is Sean Hayes. Starting 12th is the number 69 of Cooper Lilly. Starting in 13th is going to be the number 80 of Andrew Wozencroft. Starting 14th in that 221, that's Charles Ficcaro. Starting 15th in the 223 is Justin Huffman. Starting outside of row 8 in the 16th position is the number 2 of Greg Mack. Starting 17th, back a little bit further than he wanted to, is that 89 of Jamison Huffman. Starting 18th is the 062 of Greg Brockway. Starting 19th in that number 36 machine is Deacon Greenfield. Starting 20th in that number 11 is Stevie Ray. Starting 21st, is the number 78, and that's John Casey. Starting 22nd in that 700 is Joaquin Effinger. Starting 23rd in that number 73, a surprise here, Greg, and that's Wayne Buttermore. Starting 24th, and looks like that is going to be shotgun on the field, is going to be the 140 of Travis Trussell. And starting 5th in the number 5, number 25th, is Murphy Nichols.
There you go. And so that is your starting field for tonight's race. Want to welcome Captain Saltybeard along for the ride here on YouTube. It looks like Lewis Lockshine has a cheering section from afar. All right, so that is your starting grid. And Brian, as the field is making their way now down through turn 4, let's talk a little bit about our sponsor for tonight's final race of the evening here from Sonoma Raceway, and that is RaceVoice. They've been with us since the very beginning, since season number 1, and they are once again proud to sponsor the Ray Esports Racing League. So you can take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with both RaceVoice and for the sim, RaceVoiceSIM. You can hear miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds. You get upshift alerts and other performance metrics as you select and get configured by you. You hear it in your ear while you're behind the wheel of the car. Again, this is both for sim as well as for the real-life race car. To find out more about their products, head to racevoice.com and go faster with the speed of voice. All right, so we've got the field now. You can see them filtering through turn 7 and 7A, coming into the S's. They got the back half of the course there, and I think the pace car, Brian, for the MX-5 is going faster than for the Formula cars and the Spec Racer Fords. They got a nice little pace going along there.
Yeah, it's pretty quick there. The rest of the back end of the group has got to catch back up here, so I think they'll still have time to do that. I'm really looking forward to the start of this race here, Greg, between Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhart. We've talked about Caleb Patry all night long. The winner of all 3 of our different types of vehicles and championships as our pace car's getting ready to duck off. So let's see whether or not he's going to be able to complete this entire race.
All right, so Andrew Wozencroft was supposed to start from the around 12th in the grid. He is going to start 25th. He's going to start from the pit lane. So going to be a little bit of a challenge for him, but Morgan Burkhardt and Caleb Patry, they've got the field as they come through the final corner, and once again, an early green flag we see there to the inside. To driver's left, it's Morgan Burkhardt, but Caleb Patry from the outside, he takes over the lead quickly as they make their way through turn 1 and start to make their way up the hill. Wan Chi Lin pinned to the inside, the driver's right. He's got 3rd position, and side by side, it's the 07 of Josh Soto, that black 07, and then Lewis Lockshine. Captain Saltybeard, keep watching him there in the 124 machine. We've got Kyle Vallejos in the 35 machine. He's sitting 6th. Then Brennan Horan back in the number 45 car, the Team Esport Racer machine, sitting in 7th as the cars all start to filter down through turn 4, rolling down the hill. You don't see the cars with the rear end stepping out like in Spec Racer 4. They get on the throttle, they pin it and move through, but still some side-by-side racing here as you watch Michael Santanescencio. He's now right beside the number 99 of Bermudez, and sitting back, coming underneath, Jamison Huffman, who started all the way back in 17th position. I'm sure not the qualifying position he wanted. He was going to try and get underneath the 77, but got, you can see there, had the 99 get right in front of him. So big battles there in what they call working man's country here in the MX-5s as our leaders make their way down through the S's. It is still Patry, Burkhardt, Wan Chi Lin, Josh Soto, and Lewis Lockshine, your top 5.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Jamison Huff is going to be able to work through this group here of Christopher Bermuda and along with Sean Hayes, because I tell you what, without having that qualifying and then getting stuck in between there, you're trying to come through 7 and 7A as we look like Kyle Vallejos is trying to hold off there or try to get a hold of Lewis Lockshine, but he starts to pull away a little bit. But the car behind Kyle Vallejos is Brendan Horan. They look like they were going to get tangled up there as they came out of turn 11, headed up into turn 12. But it does look like Brendan Horan thought better of it, got right back in behind Kyle Vallejos there, Greg.
Oh, and look at this run coming up the hill, coming through turn 1 up to turn 2. It's the 77 and the 99. It's Michael Santanescencio in the 77 machine. He holds off Christopher Bermudez, but Bermudez not done yet as the track moves back to driver's left as they come up now through turn 3 to 3A, crest over the top of that hill at 3A, and drop down to turn 4. And the 77 machine, look at that, as he pinches the 99 so tight, but Bermudez manages to hang on, and he's got, they've got Jamison Huffman sitting right back behind. And again, Huffman finished up the championship in 5th, back here in 11th position, and he's made up 6 spots already, but still not exactly where he expected to be as they make the run out of the carousel. And now side by side, is it going to be 3 wide going into turn 7? I think Huffman thought a little bit better of it. He was going to try and sneak under the 99. There's contact as the 99 gets into the back of the 77, and Huffman, he's just the passenger there. But look at that right behind Sean Hayes in that yellow and black number 94. He's along for the ride now too. I think they're just watching the battle right up ahead of them.
Yeah, you're right, Greg. I think Incencio and Bermudez is really holding up Jamison Huffman and Sean Hayes. Good. Got to give credit out to Jamison Huffman not to stick the nose in there too deep early on, especially into that 7 and 7A right before you get to the S's, because there was a moment there he could have stuck it in there, and that could have been a disaster for not only just him, but for all 3 of them, including Sean Hayes there as they come out of turn 11, head out in turn 12, and back across the start-finish line.
Yeah, and it looks like now we've got Murphy Nichols starting to make up some ground as well. Oh, and a big tussle down at the hairpin. That is Greg Brockway in the number 62 machine. And I think we might have had Greg Mack go off there as well, the number 2. Let's take a look at the replay. And Brockway runs wide, coming out of 10, going behind the drag strip. And as they come down into the hairpin, Brockway gets into the 221 machine. That is Charlie Vaccaro. And I didn't see what happened to Greg Mack in the 2, but I think Mack went around as well. And you can see he just is sitting right ahead of Lockshine at the moment. And look at this, Brian. The 77, the 99, and the 89 still going at it here 1 lap later.
Yeah, Jamison up and really trying to work hard getting by Incencio and Bermudez in that 99 car, just not able to get away from them. As we start to head down in towards, I think that's turn 7 and 7A, getting ready to come up through the S's. So looks like he was able to get past the 99 of Bermudez. So we'll see whether or not he can get through San Incencio coming up through the S's, try to get into turn 9, but he's just a little bit too further back. As we look like we had one car, that may have been Bermudez who just went straight off.
Yeah, I think that's Bermudez who was actually taking the cutoff there that the NASCAR guys use and making the straight run towards turn 10. And I think he had probably another 30 miles an hour on the rest of the field. He might already be past start finish for all we know. All right, let's jump back up to the lead here, Brian, as we have a 4-car fight for the lead. It's Caleb Patry, your leader, in the 198 machine. He's got Morgan Burkhardt in the 40 right behind him, Wanshi Lin. And we talked about Josh Soto. Soto started 4th. He's still sitting 4th. He's hanging right in there. And then about 6 or 7 cars back to Lewis Lockshine. He's got Vallejos, Horn, and Fike right back behind him.
You know, I tell you what, we saw this earlier on in our first race, in our RE2 race with Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt. Those two stuck nose to tail the entire race until it got down to the end, until Caleb Patry made that slight mistake, which allowed Nolan Allaire to get up into second place. Again, same scenario here. These two really trying to stay nose to tail to try to pull away, but give credit, Wanshi Lin, Joshua Soto hanging tough right there with Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt as we look at the in-car camera here of Wanshi Lin. And it's interesting to note, Greg, that he takes that car all the way down to first gear.
Yeah.
Going through that 7A. Pretty interesting. I didn't think that they would go all the way down to first gear.
Well, and actually, I'm not all that surprised here. Now, that turn, and you saw how quick he was going under braking there. He was just cresting 101 miles an hour or so just before the braking zone of 7. But these MX-5s, they are modeled after the current Global MX-5 Cup cars. They've got a 6-speed sequential transmission. That first gear is a very tall first gear, and you can carry quite a bit of speed. I think it'll take you in upwards of around 45, 50 miles an hour in first gear. And there are a couple of tracks that you'll find. Oh, and going up against the wall there, was that wasn't Lockshine, I don't think, that hit against the wall, but it may have been. Here, let's take a look. We've got Wanshi Lin and Soto, then Horn, Fike, San Innocencio. Yeah, I think we lost Lockshine there going down into the hairpin. Let's take a look as they head down. I know I saw the 35 car go around.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of both of them because they're both starting to drop out. Way too much left front damage on that 35 of Kyle Vallejo, so he's dropped almost completely all the way down. He's actually in 24th spot, so look for him to probably bug out of the...
Yeah, he probably got a little bit of damage there. Thanks for the replay there, Dennis. He got a little bit of damage. He got into the tire wall after getting into the back of Lockshine, but that's going to move Lockshine now back into 8th position as we take a look. And now it took him 5 laps, or actually 4.5 laps, but finally Jamison Huffman has worked his way clear of the number 77 machine, at least for the moment. It looks like San Innocencio might not be ready to give up the battle, but you'll also see here, right back behind, we now have, and here is a story, and I didn't see what happened, Brian.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking at Lockshine in this group now, but look right in there. There's the black 07 of Josh Soto, who had been running up in 4th, and he now goes for the wild ride through the grass over by turn 8 and rejoins. He's going to lose a couple more positions. He's going to fall now back behind Murphy Nichols. But Josh Soto, in the span of just 3/4 of a lap, goes from 4th all the way down to 11th.
Yeah, he's definitely had an off somewhere. And looking at that car right now, that car just didn't look very stable trying to get through the S's. And it looks like Josh Soto's really trying to push that car to the limits early on here. Just under 10 minutes into this race. And I don't know if that car is going to last that long through there, so he's got to be very, very careful going through here as we're looking at the 140 there. Travis Trussell and Wayne Buttermore, and where there's Wayne Buttermore, there's definitely a Joaquin Effinger. And
yes, there is.
Right in front of him.
And right in the middle of that battle, Greg Mack as well in the Team Esport Racer number 2 machine. And again, I think he had got caught up in one of the tussles, not with Travis Trussell early on in this race, and has fallen back through the field. He actually had started in 16th position, currently sitting 19th. As we take a look again at this battle for the lead, and now with whatever happened to Josh Soto, it has given a little bit of clearance to both Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt, the 198 and the 40. Wan Qilin, haven't we seen this movie before, Brian? I mean, this is where we were about 15 minutes ago in the Spec Racer Ford race, with Wan Qilin running on the last step of the podium, sitting back behind Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, I think that in the last race, though, I think we had Jameson Huffman and Morgan Burkhardt and then Wan Qilin. But again, same story for Wan Qilin, still sitting in third, just can't get the advantage. You get the two teammates out in front. They tend to work together, don't push the car very much until they get to the last 5 minutes. But it's going to be interesting to see how much these tires fall off on these cars if they did on the Spec Racer Fords for Wan Qilin. So he's really trying hard to try to catch him. He's not quite out of it yet. Those two really haven't pulled away. He still is receiving some type of a draft, especially down some of the faster parts of this racetrack. But again, eventually he's going to start dropping back a little bit further if these two stay nose to tail. At that point, it just depends how much further do you want to fall back into the clutches of Brendan Huron to see whether or not he can help you draft back up to the front.
Yeah, and again, a big difference here, I think, between these cars and the Spec Racer Fords, and that the MX-5 is very neutral handling. It's very easy to adjust their angle with the throttle, as we see there, as Murphy Nichols runs a little bit wide through turn 3A, and then gets it back under control right behind Josh Soto going into turn 4. But I was watching that battle at the front of the pack with Burkhardt and Patry as they went through the hairpin that last time by, and we're already starting to see, as we have, and this may not be the close quarters that they like here, as we get Buttermore and Vaccaro getting together, coming down the hill, going into turn 4, and as we look there at the number 73 machine of Wayne Buttermore, that car is quite a bit of damage left front. So we'll see how that plays out, but I was going to say here, you can see already as we jump back to this battle for the lead, where the rear end of the 40 machine starting to walk out a little bit more, I think, than Caleb Patry. And Patry's been a little bit defensive, but actually, the 40 machine may be looking a little bit more tidy than the 198. So, again, both these drivers, they might be trying to manage the equipment here. But as they're battling it out, we can see now Wan Qilin, he's now closed within just a couple tenths of a second. He's definitely in the heat of this battle for the lead as we go a little bit further back. And, as the number 5 car blinks out and comes back, as the car right behind him does it as well. Let's take a look here as the two Team Esport racers are battling it out for the first step off the podium for 45. And wow, talk about playing follow the leader there, Brian.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed here, and I noticed this even in the Spec Racer Fords, again, a little, obviously a different car, but as the race starts to wear on, that coming down out of 2 into turn 3, and then right before the setup of turn 4, these guys are really struggling with these setups and these tires as they start to fall off, because it's a quick left and then a quick right to get back through turns 3 and 3A to set yourself up for turn 4 to get through that off camera of turn 5. Guys are really starting to struggle, and I think you're right, Greg. That's where you're going to see the follow the leader, because you're watching the car in front of you, and you want to try to hit that same mark in order to set them up for the pass, and that's where guys are starting to get in trouble.
Yeah, and obviously these are rear-wheel drive cars. They have a good portion of the weight over the nose, and certainly as you've got some of these portions of the track with the very quick transitions, if you let out of the throttle just a little bit, that's how you get the rear end to loosen up a little bit and come around. It makes very good because you can make very quick transitions in an MX-5. but it can get you in trouble. And if you run 2 tires into the dirt, it's going to take you 40 feet or so to recover. And speaking of running a little wide there, the 77 machine now, that is Michael Saninocencio, and he runs wide coming through the hairpin. He's going to give up a position to Lewis Lockshine in the 124 machine, that orange and white machine. And Josh Soto now sitting close behind. He's probably smelling a little blood here, as well as he's trying to work his way back to the front of the field in this battle for 8th.
Yeah, quite a bit of a battle, and we jump back up here to the top spot here with Caleb Patrick, Morgan Burkhart. Now, as we've talked about this pretty much all race long, Wan Chi Lin still hanging tough there with these two, Caleb Patrick and Morgan Burkhart. Those two have been kind of the class of the field here tonight. Wan Chi Lin not letting them get too far, just around the 15-minute mark, Greg. So we've got about 10 minutes left to go. So be interesting to see how much of these cars fall off as Wan Chi Lin tries to go deep, really deep into turn 7 and 7A. I didn't think he was going to make that turn because I thought for sure he would run into the to the back of that 40.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think with about 30 feet to go, he probably didn't think he was going to make it either, and he probably just had his foot still planted on the floor, but got the car transitioned fairly well, and you can see how well these cars handle with the high curbing there, that they just kind of bound over it and really recover very, very quickly. That when you've got an unloaded side of the car, it doesn't really affect them. They don't have a very high ride height, but they're just compliant enough to really be able to toss him around. But Wan Chi Lin definitely in the game here, and and what we've seen where he thought perhaps he had a chance was making that run down the drag strip over towards turn 7. And if he can get maybe a little bit closer coming out of the carousel this time, and he was, I'd say, about this distance, about a car length and a half, maybe a car length and 3/4 back as they came out of the carousel. If he could get maybe within a half a car length, he might be able to press the issue on Burkhart going into 7.
Yeah, really going to be interesting to see as they get through here, to see on this braking zone when they get down into 7 here, to see whether or not how much further he's going to close that gap under heavy braking as they go through turn 4, headed down through turns 5 right now. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can close the gap. Take a little bit further back, Joshua Soto moving up just a little bit, ever so slightly. That's actually going to put him back up into 8th. Give him that position over Michael Saninocencio. But I tell you what, he's really got his sights set now on Lewis Lockshine. So whatever problem Joshua Soto had early on there, he's got that figured out. Now it's just a matter of staying smooth, see if he can't move back up.
That's right, and he's dragging Murphy Nichols along with him. Oh, going for the ride. This is Cooper Lilly in the number 69 machine, and he gathers it back up. That was coming out of turn 5, going down the hill towards the carousel. And good thing there was just a lot of dirt and a lot of ground there and nothing to hit. But that car looks devilishly loose right now. Of course, and you have this in iRacing. You go for a long run through the dirt. Yeah, it takes a couple corners to get that dirt off of you. So we'll see if he can gather things back up as Cooper Lilly now sitting down in 17th position. He started in 12th. All right, so let's jump back to this battle for the lead. And Wan Chi Lin once again, about a lap and 3/4, maybe not a lap and 3/4, but a car length and 3/4, or maybe a car length and a half back from our leaders. They crest over turn 2. They're going to make the quick little drop down and then rise back up to turns 3 and 3A. And then down once again to turn 4. And, this is where, Brian, I've been, the last couple of laps I have been watching and we see a little bit of a bobble there coming from Burkhart going through turn 4. But both Patry and Burkhart do get a better run through turn 4. And although I think Wan Chi Lin does a little bit better job coming through the carousel, he's lost about a half to 3/4 of a car length, and now much more than that, as you can see, as they came through turn 4, and he just seems to not quite get it right, and and he just happens to then not be in a good position coming through 7, and this time he's even further back, but he might have a bit of an advantage there, as both Patry and Burkhart now, at least for the moment, side by side.
Yeah, at some point here, Caleb Morgan Burkhardt's really going to have to push the issue on Caleb Patry if they really want to get away from Wan Lin. Wan Lin just not going away. But you're right, Greg. I think that what happens is coming out of turn 12 and heading up into turn 1, I think Morgan Burkhardt is just a little bit faster. Getting through 3A down through 4 to 5, I think Caleb Patry is a little bit better. Same thing with Wan Lin. He's good at the front end half of this racetrack, but as they get to certain parts of the technical part down really from 3 all the way to turn 7, Wan Lin starts to lose just a little bit of ground there, especially coming up this hill a little bit. Now right here he's going to gain, and I think that's because Morgan Burkhardt's trying to push the issue with Caleb Patry, so they're starting to overdrive a little bit. So we'll have to see how close Wan Lin can stay here. Again, we talked about it the lap before. Really going to watch to see how they get through turn 4 here.
Yeah, and this is the corner where I think Wan Lin has the most trouble, and you can see he lost about a half a car length right there as they make the run down towards the carousel. And it's been lap after lap, and you see there he lost almost another half a car length again as they go in. Now Burkhardt, it looks like he's going to try and press the issue coming out of the carousel. That might be an advantage for Lin to try and pick up a little bit of ground, and he gets a little bit of it in the draft. He never falls more than about 9/10 back, and so he can kind of claw some of it back right here. He's going to claw a lot of it back right here as they go into 7 side by side. But again, it's that turn 4 seems to be his Achilles heel.
Yeah, just no drive off, right? I mean, he's able to get into the corner, but there's just literally no drive off. He's losing the ground to drive off, and I think Caleb Patry is starting to lose drive off as well with these tires with just about 4 minutes left to go over Morgan Burkhardt. Look for Morgan Burkhardt to probably pull away here a little bit with 4 minutes left to go, because he has his car and that setup, and again, they're pretty much probably equal setups with the exception of, probably just a little bit tweaks here and there when they get on the sim by themselves. He's set that car up to have some really good drive off at the end of the race. Corner. Yep, kind of the end of a race. Yep.
All right, so here we go as we come up through turn number 1 and head up towards turn number 2. We've got now just about 3.5 minutes remaining on the clock, so it should be this lap, perhaps it should be this lap and one more to go here as they follow down. We're going to follow here as Wan Lin. And again, they're going to come through 3A, head down the hill towards turn 4, and we'll see if Wan Lin can stay close this time by. But it looks like he's always trying to gather the car back up. This is about where he starts to lose ground. And look at it once again, Brian, about a half a car length just coming out of 4, going down into the carousel. And if he could stay just a little bit closer on the exit of the carousel, he might have... he might be able to get that run up. He had it that one lap early on, but just has not been able to get close. Here we go. Jump a little further back. Josh Soto. And we've been watching him battle it out with Lewis Lockshine for 6th for, I don't know, a good portion of the race. It looks like Murphy Nichols has dropped back just a little bit as Lockshine got around the number 5 machine. And Soto's going to go up side by side into turn 7. And he's going to have to defend the inside. He pushes a little bit wide to hold Lockshine off, but Lockshine, great jump out of 7A, and just cannot get up beside the 07 car.
Yeah, just again, a little lacking a drive off here. Talked about the same as we talked about at the beginning. So, we're getting to the end of this race here, Greg, and so these cars are really starting to struggle. These drivers are really having to do everything they can to keep this car underneath them. But this is a heck of a battle between Joshua Soto and Lewis Lockshine. Again, Lewis Lockshine having a little bit of an challenge early on, as well as Joshua Soto. So this is the battle of early mistakes trying to work back up to get into that top 6 position.
Hey, and Brian, I think we've got a big change at the front. I think Morgan Burkhardt has gotten around Caleb Patry. Yes, indeed he has. We have a new leader, and we should be, I believe now, let's see, with 23.5 minutes gone, that leaves us with a minute and a half. We should be on the last lap here. It's going to be very close with a minute 45 laps. We may get one more to go. We'll have to see if maybe we can get a picture of some of the cars coming through start finish. We'll be able to see if there's a white flag in the air or not. But we've got Burkhardt, we've got Patry, we've got Wan Qilin still about 2 car lengths back as they come out of the carousel, make their way onto the drag strip, and actually all 3 of those cars drifting very wide on the exit of the carousel. Wan Qilin still in the draft, but not quite close enough to do anything about it. Burkhardt, he's going to lead Patry, and Patry, the tiny little shove there, coming out of turn 7A as they now come down into the S's. And where Burkhardt is going to have to get defensive, Brian, I think, is as they come out of turn 10, as they come behind that drag strip tower and set up for the hairpin. He's probably going to have to put the car a little bit to the inside, which might compromise his exit speed of the hairpin.
Yeah, if this isn't the last lap, I think that they're going to be on the last lap. And when we get to certain parts of this racetrack, look for Caleb Patry to push the issue of certain areas, which may open the door for Wan Qilin as they come out of turn 12 right now, start to head up through the start-finish line. I think
15 seconds on the clock. I think they're going to get one more lap here, Brian, as they come through turn 12 onto the very short front straight. There it is, white flag in the air. As we now head into the final lap, it is Burkhardt. He pushes Patry all the way to the wall, driver's right, as they come up, and you can see there as Burkhardt has to adjust mid-corner to try and hold off Patry, and Patry now jumps to the inside as they start to make the run up the hill into turn 3 and 3A, and it is definitely a 3-car battle as they make the run down the hill. Patry tries to push the car to the inside. Burkhardt covers, and now Wan Qilin, he's going to try and sneak underneath at least Caleb Patry as the track continues to move all the way to the right, but it's going to switch back very quickly as the carousel, big sweeping downhill left-hander, and there is a definite groove there, Brian, and you want to be on the inside, and you could see where the number 30 machine of Wan Qilin kind of pushed a little wide there as he was stuck on that outside groove.
Yeah, now you got the battle here with Caleb Patry and Wan Qilin. Wan Qilin, again, we talked about it early on, able to get through that brakes. Patry's going to have the preferred line through 7A, Greg. That's only opening the door up for Morgan Burkhardt. Morgan Burkhardt's got to be looking at that rear mirror thing. Go ahead, guys. You keep battling, because Caleb Patry now, he has to defend all the way through the S's over Wan Qilin. He can't even look out the front windshield to see where he's going. He's got to look behind him as they start to come up through the S's here, turn 9 into turn 10, and they head down to that important turn 11, one of the biggest braking zone. Wan Qilin goes a little bit wide, keeps it straight. That's going to open up the door for Caleb Patry. There goes one of our cones. There goes 2 of our cones as they start to do.
Oh, and I don't think Wan Qilin's going to make the corner, Brian. And did he manage to keep that car rolling? He did. I don't know how he missed the wall, but as they come through turn 12, Morgan Burkhardt, his second win of the evening with the Drift King impression there, coming back through turn 1. Morgan Burkhardt, your winner. Caleb Patry will finish in second. Wan Qilin comes home third. I still don't know how Lin saved the car coming through the hairpin there. Then we've got Jamison Huffman. Look at this, 13 positions. Jamison Huffman finishes in 4th, 1 step off the podium. Jordy Fike will finish 5th. Lewis Lockshine, Josh Soto, 6th and 7th. Murphy Nichols, 17 positions. He comes home in 8th. Michael San Inocencio, he will finish 9th. Brennan Horan will round out the top 10. What a finish there, Brian. And you know, you had it right. You know, as soon as Caleb Patry had to concern himself with Wan Qilin, there was no stopping Morgan Burkhardt.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it wasn't even a matter of just looking out, looking out that rearview mirror saying, just go ahead, guys, you guys keep battling. But Caleb Patry had to do everything he could to keep Wan Qilin. And when we got to that 20-minute mark and we talked about Wan Qilin not having drive off, Greg, it could have been that he was saving something there for the end, because he really came on when Patry started to push the issue over Burkhardt.
He certainly did. All right, so tell you what, we've got our top 2 finishers sitting in the green room waiting for us. Why don't we bring in Caleb Patry, driver of the number 198 machine. He was our Season 4 regular season champion. He finishes second tonight at the Runoffs.
Caleb Patry, congratulations on this win here at Sonoma in the Runoffs on our MX5 Cup, finishing second place. I tell you, it's been a tough evening for you as we got through some of these races. Just one little mistake here and there. Talk about that race and talk about the ending that you had to go through to hold off Wan Qilin.
Well, certainly it was a lot of fun and very intense race. Yeah, Morgan and Wanchi were there the whole time. Not really much I can do, and then kind of fell behind Morgan with a few laps to go. And on that last lap, I had to run and try to make a few things work, but couldn't. And then Wanchi just got a run, and it was pretty difficult because I was trying to hold off Wanchi and try to catch Morgan at the same time. So definitely wasn't easy, but like I said, very fun race. Congrats to Morgan. Thanks to Wanchi for running a clean, fun race.
Well, I tell you what, you got to say congratulations to you on sweeping this season in all three of our categories here with the RE2, the Spec Racer 4s, and the MX5 Cup. What a way to finish. Who do you like to thank, not only for tonight, but for the season as well?
Well, certainly a huge shout out to everybody at All Sports Racing for their support and all their setups. Would like to thank Steve Ray and everybody else who puts these races on. You guys at Apex for the broadcast, and I also like to give a special shout out to Premier Racing Setups. You can use discount code Patry15, my last name 15, for 15% off on checkout. So go check them out.
Well, I tell you what, there you go. And if you want to get a good setup here, you may want to go ahead and do that, because Caleb Patry has run one heck of a season, and again, sweeping it all. So again, Caleb, congratulations not only on the win, but finishing second here tonight in our Sonoma runoffs. And Greg, with that, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, thanks so much to Caleb Patry, again, our regular season champion, not just in Mazda MX-5s, but in the Spec Racer Fords and the RE2s as well. We've got a couple people that we want to bring in. Of course, we're going to bring in Morgan Burkhardt, takes his second win of the evening, and then we've got a special guest right after that. Morgan Burkhardt, our winner tonight in the MX-5s. Brian, over to you.
Morgan Burkhardt, congratulations on that win. But I tell you what, this was one of the races where you really had to work hard at it. Not only did you have to get ahead of your teammate there with this 25-minute time limit, but you had to hold off Wanchi Lin, as he stayed right with both of you all night long. Talk about that race, and talk about really what you had to do to get past Caleb Patry.
Well, it was fun. I knew if I went out and led, it just wasn't going to end well at the end. I was going to get freight trained. So I didn't purposely get a really bad start, but it played into my favor, and Caleb got around, and I could just make him do all the hard work, burn off the tires, and then with 3 or 4 laps to go, it's just like, all right, I start to pass him and then try and build a little bit of a gap.
Well, I tell you what, that strategy actually worked out. It's kind of worked out here for you all year. I know that's not what you've tried to do on it, but who do you like to thank tonight, not only for tonight, but for the season that you've had here for the season?
Well, first of all, big shout out to Premier Racing Setups for all their help with the MX-5 setups. You can go check them out at premierracingsetups.com. I highly recommend them. They do seem to do the good job. So yeah, I just thank my parents as well for making all this possible. My grandparents, Barbara Wallace out in Minnesota, the rest of the ASR team, and of course Stevie and the Apex broadcast crew.
Well, I tell you what, we appreciate that. We appreciated watching you here all season long battle, not only in that top spot, but battling for those wins in all 3 classes. So again, congratulations on your win here, your second one tonight here at Sonoma at our runoffs winner take all. And Greg, with that, I'll send it back over to you.
All right, there you go. Thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for joining us once again. And now I think Morgan had a nice little segue there. We're going to bring in Stevie Ray. He's the Ray in the Ray Esports Racing League. He has started this little adventure up from nothing just about a year and a half ago. And look at what it's become now, Stevie. We had almost 70 entrants through the course of the season in each one of our 3 classes. And I'm sure this is exactly what you hoped it would be when we got things started not so long ago.
Yeah, it was a great season. I was really pleased. I think everybody enjoyed it. We keep growing a little bit every season, so hopefully we keep doing that. And it's just a ton of fun with these guys out there.
All right, so I mean, certainly the competition was absolutely spectacular tonight. here from Sonoma Raceway, and the Ray Esports Racing League has been very much focused on the sprint race format. Very much like you find in regional racing and club racing, with typically our 25-minute races, 20-minute races during the season, 25 minutes here at the Runoffs. But I understand that you're looking to put together a more of an endurance-focused series as well.
Yeah, Greg Hubler, my partner, putting all this stuff together, thought that we ought to do the endurance stuff. He does some of that and is a little more into it than I am. And SCCA is kicking off their endurance side, so we thought we needed to parallel it. So we are going to start an endurance series. I think it's in March. We're going to be at Sebring. SCCA kind of had to hold off. They're letting Sebring go, but we are going to go ahead and go with our Sebring race with 4-hour races and have 3 separate classes and TCRs, MX5, and the Mustangs. So that should be a ton of fun as well.
That should make for some very spirited competition on track. With a lot of those cars, they race very well together, but in many cases they race very differently in some of the parts, especially in Sebring. Certain parts of the track, it's going to be a big game, I think, as these drivers over an extended period of time try to work together. I think to what Daytona looks like with the GT cars and the LMP2 cars. Sometimes it doesn't work out that well. But the one thing that we've noticed here in the Ray Esports Racing League, very conscientious drivers and great car control, and it should make for an exciting endeavor. And hopefully, Steve, since I don't think you expect Brian or I to talk for 4 hours straight, we might get some time behind the wheel.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Get you guys out on track as well.
All right, Brian, you got some questions for Steve?
No, I don't. I got to tell you, it's not really much of a question, but a comment. Again, being the second season here, I've seen this, this grow, ever so, slightly, probably, close to where you want it to be. But I tell you what, such a congratulations, not only to you, but to everybody involved in here to put this on. I think this is a fantastic series. And as Greg said, I'm looking to get behind the wheel, especially in one of those enduros. And who knows, maybe I will beat Greg.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the league is really great. It's the guys on track that make it every week. I mean, we set it up. That's all we can do. We encourage clean driving, give bonuses for 0 incidents and stuff, and put it out there. But it's the guys that come out every week and join us on track, and they're the ones that really make the league what it is. So a huge thanks to all the guys that to come out every week. I really appreciate it.
And we have some people that sat in with Steve from the SCCA convention. Kevin Carter from YouTube said that tonight was great. Wants to give his thanks to you for the show that you helped put on, and a lot of other people chiming in as well. And it's going to be, I guess we're going to have a little bit of downtime, about probably 3-4 weeks before we start up season number 5 of the Sprint Series.
Yeah, that's about typical.
There you go. And if you want to find out more about the Ray Esports Racing League, if you want to join us on track, head on over to rayesportsracing.com, and you'll find out not only about the Ray Esports Racing League, but also about the other leagues that Stevie Ray helps put on, like the Weekend Warriors that I spoke about earlier. We've got the Spec Racer Fords and also the Formula V leagues. But we definitely like to see you join us here in the Ray Esports Racing League. And as you can see, the competition here is great. So for Brian Donati, for Dennis Branch, for Stevie Ray, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will hopefully see you very, very soon for season number 5 of the Ray Esports Racing League here on Apex Racing TV. Be well, everybody.